nation with tax and more tax. 3 times they bring legislation and I to walk it back. So the latest one, the tourism accommodation bill, was destined to kill. For people with a place to chill, to rent for a few dollars. But the government plan to make them all to lock them out the industry. Cause they're making money. Making money. Cause they're making money. Making money. So lock them out the industry. Cause they're making money. $250,000 if they don't pay for a license. The minister say if you can't pay the registration, you should not be in business. The people protest, so me I have to walk it back. 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 Walk it. We want shade. Walk it to walk back. Walk it. That's hard. That breaking way back. Walk it. Now they walk it back. 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 Walk it. Walk it. Walk it. Walk it back. Yeah. 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 Walk it back. Walk it back. On legislation, me always walking it back.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You are watching the Marcia Weekes Show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. And you just heard the national anthem of Barbados. And I'm holding in my hand the national flag of Barbados. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have an amazing show lined up for you tonight. Tonight, we're talking about from visitor to voter. We're looking at also the digital ID versus the TRIDENT ID and asking the question, is Barbados democracy for sale? Is Barbados democracy for sale? I'm going to ask everybody to like and share. We're going to go all the way in. And I want you to be prepared tonight. Prepared to learn something tonight. Prepared to contribute something tonight. Prepared to, as you're listening, you think of, okay, how can we change this? That's what we're about here on the Marcia Weekes Show. It's about Emma, that little girl, Emma. Yes, Emma, we educate, we motivate, we mobilize, and we agitate. So we're not just going to educate, but we're going to mobilize to do something because we're motivated. Yes, and we're going to agitate for change. And we have been doing that since day one. Since day one, we have been doing that. We've led several marches. Oh my goodness. Last year alone, there were 17 marches, plus a year before that. And we've been doing marches upon marches. Our first set of marches, remember, when we started this series, had to do with NIS. Do you remember that? Yes. With Mr. Kirk Franklin, Mr. Caswell Franklin, remember? And he taught us all about the NIS. You know, those were wonderful days when we were being taught about the NIS. Who remembers that? Those are wonderful days. And, you know, and we've been going out ever since. Every time there's a piece of legislation, somehow we've been able to get wind of it, and we've been part of that process in letting them walk it back, walk it back, walk it back, walk it back. They're going backwards like this, backwards. They've had to walk it back, all the way back. That's what we are part of that process. Are we the only ones involved in it? No, it's all of us in Barbados. What are you talking about? How could it just be us? It's everybody, all 280,000 of us from all walks of life. That's who we are. And we walk, we listen. We get on the streets, we do petitions, we use our WhatsApp, we talk to the people in our workplace, the person sitting next to us. When we go to church, we talk to the people at church. Yes, and we talk to the people in our WhatsApp groups, right? We talk to the person on the bus, right? We're in the mall shopping, we start to talk to the people in the mall. Anywhere I go and somebody starts talking to me about anything, listen, I'm going to share something with them that I've learned. And I tell you something, I have learned so much on this show. And I'm coming to greet everybody. But let me tell you, this has been Judy Ann, Judy Jukes. Oh, Judy Jukes, let me tell you something. You are such a loyal opposition. And I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to the Marcia Weekes Show tonight. And you were the first on. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, Judy. Judy Jukes, appreciate you. I really do. Always a strong word of encouragement. And even if I wanted to quit, there are people like you, Judith, that you're always there encouraging. How can I quit? How can I quit? Not that I was planning to. Monica Ince, good evening. Monica, we've done a lot of education on this show. I've learned so much. Oh my goodness. And that's no pretense. I've learned so much about how government works. I didn't know anything. I was in the arts, trained in accounting, but I was in the arts. I didn't understand about government. And it wasn't until I got on the show and I learned so much from Caswell Franklin. I've learned from Rose Corbin. I've learned from Dr. Ferdinand. I've learned from Maxine McLean, Glenn Murray, and all the guests. So how about Mr. Strickland? Oh my goodness. Everybody who comes on the show, I learned something from them. And I am a product. Now sometimes I'm hosting segments by myself because I've learned so much, Monica Ince. How about you? Lucinda, have you learned a lot on the show? I have. I've been educated on the show. I've been energized to agitate. Oh my goodness, Mildred, and my fears, fears have been lifted on the show because we work so much with each other, Teroni. Good night, Teroni. We work together along with the diaspora. The diaspora, they have been amazing, an amazing part of this army of the loyal opposition, the diaspora. Can everybody pause and just give some thumbs up and some claps there for the diaspora? Oh my goodness, I don't even have my pot cover. Listen to me, diaspora. This is so. I was in my garden and I was thinking about the diaspora. I really was. I was thinking about the diaspora this morning in my garden. I was thinking about you all and saying how, guys, I know I have stuff to discuss tonight, but I want to stop a little while and just thank the diaspora. Can I just do that? I used to live in the diaspora. Dave and I lived in New York for over 10 years, school and work. And the opportunity that the show has afforded the diaspora to be involved, it's just phenomenal. I mean, the first person from the diaspora who would come on the show and research and would come to share with us is Heather Cole. You remember Heather Cole? Heather Cole, living in New York, Barbadian who loves Barbados, living in New York. And she would come, she would donate and be part of discussions and WhatsApp groups and all of that concerning Barbados. And we have to say thanks to Heather Cole, was one of the first ones to push out her head. And then we had people like Sue. How can we forget Sue? We can't forget Sue is working in another area. I can't say all of that on here right now. And there's V Hoy and there's Michelle and then I start to name, and I'm not this saying you don't name because then you forget people. But there have been so many persons, Cameron, in the diaspora. Some of you, you come on and you join, like, Lori Bob, good evening, Jelaine, good evening, Sir Alfred Benjamin, he's generally on, and we know he's hailing from Brooklyn, and we feel the strength of the diaspora. Aaron, I don't know if you know, Aaron, that if it wasn't for the diaspora, the success that we had in Washington with the cybercrime bill could not have happened. I'm telling you, hands down. The sacrifice that the diaspora made, the rehearsals that they had up there with the team, if it was not for them, I know they carried a large part. They also helped to pay for it. And I have to give it up to them. I'm sorry. Jacqueline, good night. Jacqueline, you and I have to connect to deal with the probate stuff. Beverly Prescott, good night. Gelbiz, please hug yourself for me, Gelbiz. That's a hug from me and to your hubby as well. Marcia, good night. Marcia Miller, how you doing? Matthew B, you all right? Wonderful. Sharon Ennis, Sandra. So I want to, Tim T. Ward. Is Tim T. Ward in Canada? Tim T, let me know if you're from Canada. Anybody watching from the diaspora, just put where you're watching from. I want to shout you out tonight because you are so much part of what is happening. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why it is you can't vote from where you're at. Listen, they don't even realize the value of the diaspora. For some reason, they think the diaspora is just for barrels and to send in for Western Union and send in what do they call them? There's a word they call for it and it's missing me right now. When they send things home, they think that the diaspora is just for that. But there's just so much in terms of even how to do things, how to be efficient in executing various ideas and you know, how to work, the mechanics of how to work things, get things out. A lot of these people are living in large societies, and they have mastered that. And that's what I, if I was a leader, that's what I'm after. I'm not after your barrels and your and what you can send, the money that you can send. I am that would be the part of what I'm after. Huh? That would be what I am after. So that's why we're talking from visitor to voter. You're going to hear how what they're doing and bypassing the diaspora. Right, we're going to talk about that tonight, but I'm spending that time going down memory lane and talking about the diaspora and the power of the diaspora. And there are quite a number of Barbadians living overseas. I one of these nights we need to go into that a bit. Marcia and Joyanne, Judith Ann, how are you, Judith Ann? We keep you in prayers as you prepare for that. What's going to happen there? You have to let me know when, if I can tell the family, and when Sharon Ennis, you know, we're family. Yes, yes, yes. You got busy century, learn about the NIS, about bra. Yes, yes, right on this show. Yeah, yes, yes. John Clark, good night. Good night. Yes, now you heard the song Walk It Back. And if you want to hear more of that kind of music, that's the website, Island Vibes. So you need to go to Island Vibes Reggae, right? YouTube.com, search Island Vibes Reggae. Take a screenshot and or copy the link. Yes, and you can go there to learn about that, okay? And to get more music, etc. Hi, Winnie. Good night. CG. Oh my God. CG, when history is made, and if I have to write anything about this period of time, I have to mention your name. Or I'll just say CG, because you're still not going to want me to mention your name. This is a phenomenal woman. Why do I say that? Because CG, if CG says she's going to do something, she's going to do something. We inherited her through Caswell Franklin. And, you know, Caswell Franklin is a man of his word. And so is CG. And CG, you are, I learn from you. You don't even realize that. You know, I learn from you and I'm inspired by you. I really am. And by the grace of God, I'm going to get you all of the material that you need. All right. But CG does all the banner, the placards that we have. She does them up, and she takes pride in that, you know, and she spends hours putting it all together. Very artistic woman. And very, very funny too. I love the Dave says one of these nights, CG, we should just have a show looking at the placards alone, and I think we're going to do that. Sean Cool, good night, Lucinda. Yes, yes, yes. They clapping the diaspora, clap the diaspora. Yes. Oh my goodness, they support us so much. I can't say all that they do on the show, but they do a lot. They do a lot. And I want to big them up. You know, I want to big them. Adrian Hines. How can I forget Adrian Hines? Adrian Hines. I want people, I honestly, I didn't even come on here to talk about the diaspora, but I was thinking about you all and the impact that you have made on Barbados. And what you don't realize, it's because you don't live here. You are the way you think and the way you see things. It's just so liberating for us who live here. And so we need to hear from you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your perspective. Pauline Maynard. Yes, Pauline. Y'all don't let me start crying tonight. Pauline, you know why. Adrian, thank you. Adrian is one of those who challenged us about voting. We have and taught us, you know, about parliament and all of that. and Adrian, we are indebted to you. Pauline, thank you for what you do. Carmelo, thank you for what you do. Yes, remittances is what I wanted to say. Thank you. Remittances. And I had a figure somewhere of how much that contributes to the GDP of Barbados, But Toronto, Sandra, Toronto. Yes. Rhode Island, Marie. No, but we can't do that. We should not do that anymore. I think having lived in a big country, and a big city like New York City, has helped to frame me. And so, coming back to Barbados, I mean, Dave and I, we're not going to stand for certain things. You know, I was only talking to my neighbor here, and she was saying how many times I called the child care board and the police on people in the neighborhood because I live in New York. You can't be abusing children around me. You can't be doing whatever, and we live there and we see things. And that child who I have made some reports and so on, and so she came over, and the big woman now, and was passing the house, and she came to say thank you for being so bold to call the child care board to help me out. And so I wasn't advocating just because I came on the show. The people in my community will tell you, you know and she came by and almost brought tears to my eyes, and she said, Auntie Marcia, thank you. You said, Miss Weekes, thank you for for doing that. And living in a big city, in a big country, does that to you, because you know that it can be done differently, because you've seen things done on a bigger scale. And sometimes they think that you're showing off a little bit, because sometimes the diaspora, you're a little, you're taking a little too much. Sometimes I have to tell the diaspora, I said, don't give them the full 100. Pull it back, pull it back off my Bajan people, But we do need the diaspora, and that's not what I came on to talk about. But yes, but I do. Oh, Wayne is watching from Philadelphia, but I think they should get their due. But guys, yes, we do something about it, Michelle, and that's what Michelle is doing. Michelle, oh my God. Listen, there are about 3 of these women, right? On here, she's called Vihar. There's a woman called Sue, and there's a Michelle. I tell them they're 3 drilling gangsters. If them 3 gang up on you, get done. I'm telling you, these are 3 Bajan women you don't want to mess around with. You understand? And I think, are they all from? I think, no, they're not all from New York, but 2 from New York. But let me tell, oh no, 1 Florida, 1 New York, 1 Connecticut. And I'm telling you, them 3 Bajan women, they could turn inside here. If let loose, they would turn this upside down in this place. Michelle is from the Bronx. Yes, okay, Michelle from the Bronx. Yes, and how can we forget Abraham? Abraham is in Abraham Millington, coming out of Canada, who calls in almost every night. Abraham, we appreciate you. We really do. And I just want to say, diaspora, I am for you. I am with you. We feel you. We know that Barbados can be turned around with your help. And we need you. The loyal opposition is saying we need you. We do. I know we need you. You know that too. What's this here? Adrian is telling me 375 fee for medical records. Right, that people have to pay for their medical records. Wow. We'll have to look into that. Let me put that down. I think somebody actually called me on that, sounds very familiar. I will check into that. All right, folks. I see one of my guests is in, and Dave, tonight, guys, I want to draw your attention before my guests come on. there's ZICO John, Don Leacock, THEIRRY Gittens, and then we have we're going to have Corey Greenidge, attorney Corey Greenidge is going to be on and going to just break down for us the Citizens Bill. You don't want to miss none of this. This was on DLP TV, and tonight he's going to go even a little slower, put up the bill. You're going to see the sections. You know how we do it on the Marcia Weekes Show. So we're playing relays. So from the DLP TV, we're taking the baton and we're running with it. Thank you, Mr. Ralph Thorne, and those over there who produce at the DLP TV. They did an amazing job last night. Come on, amazing job, DLP TV. The numbers are going great over there as well. Now, I want to bring to your attention this other thing here. Dave, some travel records are coming up. You know, and I wanted to, Dave, just put this up on the screen for me. I'm just going to spend a couple minutes on this tonight, right? I'm just gonna send a couple minutes on this while you guys, I needed to share, to like and share. Now, I am looking here, guys, and I'm looking on a schedule here, on an itinerary here. All right. So this Bridgetown Grantley Adams International Airport, and okay, so all right, let's go down a little bit, Dave. So the aircraft is Gulfstream Galaxy Gulfstream G200 Galaxy, right? Yeah. Now this is the jet here. Now it's been alleged that this is the jet. It's been alleged that this is the jet, Barbados, that the Prime Minister used to go to the UN, go to Washington. Whose jet is this? Can anybody guess? Whose jet is this? If you were to go on online and check this out, where because you know the good thing about these things these days, right? So is that you can find all of this thing online, right? This is an N611MM. Yeah, it's a nice private jet. Whose is it? Somebody telling me it was made in China. That's the thing about the internet. The internet, I'm telling you, this here is the weapon formed against this administration. And that is why they would like to shut it down. Because while they have not told us, because when the Prime Minister is leaving, we don't know. Other countries, they tell you when they're leaving. When the Prime Minister was leaving to the UN in Trinidad, it was announced, and the deputy was announced how long the Prime Minister was leaving. For all of that is announced. That's a regular thing that happens throughout the Caribbean, not Barbados. But the thing about this is that we can get it on the internet. Right? Now, oh Jesus, honesty, you're too funny. Hold on. Somebody says a baloney jet. Is this a baloney jet? Or is MM? Is it MM for Mark Maloney? Huh? Somebody say, holy Maloney, that's a nice jet. Now, yeah, it looks like a nice jet. I think we have a picture of the allegedly of the inside of this jet, Dave. With right, it's a nice jet. Yeah, it's a nice jet. Right? Now, I want you to realize that think about who this man is. I just read to you was it Sunday night? We went through the vaccine scandal, and this man was involved in it and tied up with our Prime Minister's name, was involved in it and all of that. So that's public knowledge, and that was in the newspaper, and the government and all of that was everybody mixed up in that. Okay. Now, allegedly, Allegedly. Now, okay. So this is what it appears that has happened. Now the question is going to be, who paid for this jet? Now, Dave, I don't know if you have the amount, have how much generally a flight like this would cost. Because we're going to ask questions because we don't know. We are going to assume that I don't think do you think the prime minister would ride in this jet for free? How many of you think that she would ride in the jet for free? How many of you think that she rode in that she was in this jet for free? Guess what? You know who I did not remember in the diaspora? How could I forget her? And you're going to hear from her. Hopefully, I'm trying. Marcia Hines. And she just wrote me and told me remittances. Marcia Hines. Listen, we can't forget you. How can I forget you? The diaspora, man, I tell you, you all could. That's another one. By herself, she will turn inside here upside down, just by herself. Marcia Hines. She will take this and clean it up. Powerful women. Now, listen. Let me get. So we see that it's a private owner. Look at the top. It's a private owner. So somebody saying maybe she gets free flights, he gets business. We don't know that. We can't say that. That's why you're saying maybe. Now, if we were to assume that our prime minister flew on a private jet and that she paid for it, is it the taxpayers' money that paid for it, seeing that she was going on business with the country concerning the country? So chartering a private jet from Washington, D.C. to Bridgetown, Barbados, and vice versa would typically cost between US 35,000, right, and US 150,000 or more, depending on the type of the aircraft, the number of passengers. Did she travel with her, a contingent, fuel cost, and other factors such as international landing fees, right? So the question is, somebody said that they believe if she's paying for it, it would be taxpayers' money. Now, we don't know Andrea Critchlow. And so this is why it is so important to have that integrity in public life bill, because I believe that would be some of the areas that would be covered, under the bill. They look at associations and all of those things. Somebody, you can correct me. We're doing this segment with together, right? I'm going to bring in ZICO in a moment. ZICO, let me know if you're ready. Put your thumbs up if you're ready. Yes, okay. Thank you. Right? I want to hear from you guys. What are the implications from that? The prime minister travels frequently, we know that, and appears to be traveling on private jet or jets. That's what it appears to us. The question is, what is the cost of using private jets? Can I tell you, as I bring in ZICO, can I tell you from doing my research on Errol Barrow? Do you know that there was a period of time, ZICO, good night. How are you doing?
Good night. I am doing wonderful today. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing great. I had a
Lovely,
lovely
lovely.
day.
Nice,
And
nice.
you know, I'm here talking about this private jet that is alleged that the prime minister, that was used, that is what she flew on to Washington and back. Now that's the allegation, and people found this online. And so if it is not so, I'm sure the prime minister's office will say it is not so, right? Because we don't know, because we are not told anything. So if we can only go and research, you know. So I was saying, Zico, that the prime minister travels frequently, you know, but and it appears that she's traveling on private jets, right? The issue is, what is the cost of using private jets? And I was saying to the viewers that in my research on Errol Barrow, that many times that he was traveling overseas, that he flew economy. Do you believe that? The prime minister of Barbados? And I'm telling you, this is facts. And you know what? He said, when he looked at what was happening in the economy in Barbados, he says everybody has gotten tightened their belts, including the politicians, including his MPs. And he told them everybody will travel economy.
I think that's a very noble and considerate thing for any prime minister, to be honest. I can understand both sides. I do understand the reason why a prime minister may deem to want to fly private due to the fact for security reasons and what's not, but still there have to be a level of consideration at play, especially when you're looking at your economy. I think the last time I checked, the prime minister travel allowance was like $150,000 or something like that a year. I think that was even US. I knew before there was also other prime ministers prior also did the same thing, utilized when it was the Simpsons. They used their private jet as well. For the late David Thompson had used their private jet and so forth. If she's paying, is our taxpayer dollars for sure. It's nothing to wonder about. For sure, is our taxpayer dollar. I just we gotta wait and see how much it is that she's paying.
Yeah. And did you know, are they negotiating? Are they trying to find the best, you know, the best deal? Is that the best deal that we could get? You know, or is this about friends? And you know, because this man's name, Mark Maloney name comes up, you know, whatever the government, his name is there. You know, I know that with David Thompson, when he was not well, that the Simpsons, when he got sick, I know that as a fact, that the Simpsons, you know, took him on their
Tuck him
private
in,
jet
yes,
to
yes.
to the doctor,
Mhm.
in the US and so on. You know, so the question is, though, when you, for any prime minister, really, whether it's David Thompson, whether it is Mia Motley, whether it is whoever the prime minister, I think it's very important when you take, if it is a case where you're getting, you know, this is free, well, free, and we know nothing is free, Zico,
Correct.
right? Nothing is
You're very
free.
much correct. You're correct.
Always something, you know.
Something always a trade off. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, what
I,
are the
I
favors? What are
I
we
think this
trading?
I think it's a very valid question, because really and truly, to fly private, it is very expensive. You want to know not only that what is being traded off as well. Is it just based on relationship? Is it just a favor being lent? But we still don't know that it comes with, you scratching by I scratch yours somewhere somehow.
Hmm.
So it's a very valid question, indeed.
Yeah. Let me hear from the yeah, you know, I believe the Frondel Jerome Stewart, is that his full name? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure at some point he might have. He might have, and the same questions we would need to ask. You know, the thing though is that you must remember that Frondel Jerome Stewart, why you have to spell out the whole of the man name? You know, one of the things that I know is that he did not travel, not even a quarter as much as Mia Motley. And that's why, you know, things like this, you know, very, very important. Dave, you have something you're playing there? Is that something you want to play on Errol Barrow? But what I do know is that there was a time when Errol Barr, you know what, his ministers, Errol Barr's ministers, were very, very upset with him when he said that they were going to travel economy.
Yeah, as I said, I can understand the security risks behind it when you fly economy. You don't know who's on the plane, who's traveling with you on the plane, your cargo, where is you may be transporting in or out. So I do understand the security risk behind it. So I'm not totally against the flying private, but I think it still needs to be some level of transparency in terms of how much you're paying, because you can get it at various prices. And we can look and see this is a very expensive private jet, and see how much it is that we're paying taxpayers dollar wise, if it's a favor to a favor, if it's that you're getting it based on your business relationships and it's complementary deal, or whatever the case may be. I just think that more transparency just needs to be shown to the public where this is concerned.
Yeah, I would love to hear from the people in the comment section while we play this video. Go right ahead, Dave.
Barr stimulated a standard that we need to find a way of instilling once again.
One time we traveled to Qatar and we landed at Grantley Aden Airport. I have tape recorder Sony, I never forgot. I tell the officer, look, I am not paying that personal effect. The Prime Minister of Barbados will pay. I am not paying it. Custom officer, I said, you go ahead. I tell him, I'm not paying. He said, you go ahead. But he pay, Errol Barrow pay duty in item he buy. I see it in my eyes. Not use government money for his own official. That's what you admire about him.
He asked you to stick to a rigid code. You couldn't take advantage of a situation.
I want every politician in Barbados to follow his footsteps, his legacy, dignity and principle, and loyalty for the people, not lying.
And I remember when sorry about that. I remember, ZICO and viewers, when we were interviewing that gentleman for the movie, he actually started crying, thinking about Mr. Barrow. And that's really why he got into politics, because he just admired Mr. Barrow's integrity. And you would have heard us calling for the integrity in public life bill. And so, these are things that I'm hoping will cover, because especially if you're getting this complimentary and you're you're traveling a lot, is this the one jet you use all the time? Because that's very telling. I think there's some ethical implications, and we're here speculating because we just don't know, ZICO.
We definitely don't. We definitely don't know. And I say it's a very valid question, especially right now within the times that we're in when it comes to the economy. And I think these is questions that needs to be either enlightened. And I just think that there's not much clarity where this is concerned, because really and truly the majority of the work that she does dealing with the UN and global warming, it has nothing to do with Barbados on this whole. So really and truly, I think you need to come to the front of the class and explain to us how these trips being made and who's paying.
And if you listen to even the speech, I don't know if you listen to the speech from her speech, and then listen to the speech from Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister. Do you know, listen to those two speeches and you realize that that woman went to represent her country. She was defending Trinidad and Tobago to the hilt. Not Madame. Madame is speaking about everything. She's Prime Minister of the world, except Barbados. Everybody. Jamaica spoke a lot about Jamaica, but not Trinidad, especially Trinidad. They're very nationalistic. They're about, getting their economy back to where it is supposed to be. And that's what she's bullseye on that. This one she is Prime Minister of the world. That's what it seems like to me.
And and it is sad, because really and truly you still have to take some part of national pride in terms of your country. I think horn drums need to beat first. Yes, there's nothing wrong with you speaking on the behalf of other countries and the Caribbean as a whole. But I just think sometimes we could be looking at things in too much of a broad perspective, especially when you're speaking on certain matters. I think first we need to address how something is going to benefit first Barbados, And then, if anything, how it then affects the Caribbean in a whole. And I think majority of the times, especially with her activities and the stuff that she's getting herself involved in right now, I don't think it really has anything much to do with Barbados or the Caribbean in a whole, especially when she's in the international market.
Yeah, I mean, some people say, well, she's putting Barbados on the map. Some people say that we're getting promotion from it, and people get to know about Barbados because she's speaking about international matters, and that is true to some extent. And it's not that Barbados wasn't on the map before. So but the reality is that we have to understand also is that we elected a prime minister and not somebody who is a celebrity.
Exactly. There's nothing. We're not being disingenuous and not saying that. Of course, we don't appreciate, the public attention in terms of that's our prime minister. We take pride in that. No, that's Barbados. That's that person's from Barbados speaking up on issues. We do understand. I don't think no one is bashing that. But then still, it comes to a point where sometimes that Bajans could feel neglected when there's certain issues at home which needs to be addressed, and still feel like they're not being heard, or these issues are not being addressed by the prime minister when she's out about speaking on international issues. So I think sometimes that Bajans do feel neglect in that way, and that's the reason why they speak out, and that's the reason why they show such displeasure and negative vibes, I should say, when she does these things.
Do you know that, and I'm gonna come back to that, because I want us to talk about what, as you move around, just honestly, what are you hearing and feeling in Barbados? Because I know you're a man on the ground, you are in the communities and so on. But, ZICO, I one of the things I want to say to the people of Barbados, that I was surprised to see that the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago was sharing with the people how much her dress cost. Did you see that? She was telling, she had to tell them, they want to know how much money did you spend for the dress you wore. That dress is expensive. And they went online and found the price of the dress. And they wanted to know, why did you spend so much money?
Accountability.
Yes. And
accountability.
She stood up and she said, listen, I bought my own dress. And yes, that's the price I paid for my dress. She actually did that.
And there's nothing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to be, it's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to be face to the country, you're going to represent Barbados, especially as our face, our prime minister. There's nothing wrong with answering those hard questions, or if not hard questions, questions that may seem a little bit uncomfortable. Is a level of accountability and is a level of transparency that needs to take place, especially as a leader of a country, when certain questions are being asked. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you have nothing to hide, there's no reason answering these questions, not to be offended by it, but simply ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when we see what's happening in the country at this time, I got a call today about a camp, a counselor at camp, and this is a grown man who didn't have a job, but they were looking for counselors at camp. This is a summer camp that's put on by the government. For those of you who are not familiar. David Thompson had started that in his tenure, right? Remember ZICO and others?
Yeah, definitely.
And so most of the governments that came after him, they carried on some parts of it have been carried on. And so the summer camps become very, very important for a lot of families. And I was being told today, one person called to speak up on behalf of the others, and he's saying that he worked at the summer camp. He's supposed to be paid $150 a week, right? And that's one of the reasons I brought this up tonight. How much the possibility of how much this private jet would cost. And we have shown another jet that is alleged that the prime minister was on when she went to Africa, which was $11,000 an hour on that private jet. So I want people to think about this. And we're not trying to say that the prime minister, as you're saying, need to be in harm's way. But when you look at what's happening in the country, And this man, he's a big man. He's not a teenager that called me, but needed work. And so he went to look after children, okay, in a
Yeah.
summer camp for $150 a week. Think about that. $150 a week. And he worked 5 weeks, owed $750.
And this even goes back to the same original question, like in terms of what's the temperature, what it is that people are saying on the streets, and it's social fatigue, frustration. Everywhere you go, I mean, there's seriously social fatigue, especially when it comes to the government. Not even just the summer camps, but even for those, these artists and influencers and people who played a role, even in the same, what's called it now, just past Carrie Festa, that haven't received their money. The frustration behind it, to know that we who live in paycheck to paycheck, or sometimes even below paycheck to paycheck, still can't receive their funds, and they don't think that it is right. Everybody can't wait 2 and 6 months and to receive to get paid. What messages are you sending? And then when you seeing things like private jets and people flying here and there and stuff along those kind of lines, it makes it seem like the small man is secondary. He's not looked at. He's not a priority for the country. And I think that is the temperature when they talk to people. Is like nobody looks at us, nobody really pays us any mind. They try to sweep us one side, and then becoming a classist country where it's the haves and the haves not, and then there's a big divide in between. It's no longer a middle class. It's that you have it or you don't. And the priority right now is falling on those who have, and I think they're forgetting the small man, and those who are small feeling neglected. And this is really frustration is coming to play. And this is where you can see the temperature starting to rise. And first you can say, yes, in the streets when it comes to crime. And then you can say in the corruption. But then also you can say in terms of activism and people speaking out and people actually, be diplomatic and saying, well, this is not right. Something needs to be done. And people may say, oh, yes, people just like making noise and people just like, being a nuisance and what's not. But no, but really and truly, those who feel it knows it. And everybody who feels it does not have a voice. So even shows like they say, when people come and speak about their concerns and the questions and the queries, or even looking for clarity for some of these topics, it's not that you just want to be a public nuisance. It's that you're speaking for the voiceless. And it's very easy for any of us to go in our house and say, well, that's not my problem. But when we start having that attitude, that's when we start to see the decline and the decay within Barbados. And it cannot be like that anymore. It's very frustrating when you can see some people. I know a guy who decided he's walked from town to Christchurch from work. So he is working, but still doesn't have enough money to pay a van to get home. Yeah.
Pause right there. You said the guy is walking from where?
From town to Christchurch.
Wow. And I believe you, because that's sometimes people call me and say, Marcia, I have a job, but I don't have any bus fare to go to the job. One lady called me because she was looking for a job, and she called me, Miss Weekes, I need help because I got the job, but I don't have any bus fare. So I believe you. I mean, from Christchurch to town and to Christchurch, and because you believe, guys, in this day and age. And this particular guy's story, the guy who called me today, as I say, is a big man. First of all, I'm sure it's a little humiliating for a big man to be gone to do to be a camp counselor, and then put on top of it to not be paid. So summer camp has been finished. Summer camp was finished from the first week in August.
Yep.
Summer camp was finished 3 weeks before school started back, and he has not received $1. $750 measly. And that's why issues like these are brought up. We don't want the Prime Minister to be flying economy and put herself in danger. But when you're flying so often, and from what we heard, it's alleged, the Prime Minister's office, please clarify, but it's alleged that the contingent is usually wide. I mean, big. It's a large contingent that travels with her. That's what we are hearing. And the Prime Minister's office can always correct it if we are wrong. But when you have somebody who has worked, right? He said when they started, they took their bank information. The same thing that happened for Carrie Festa, I've been told. Those young people for Carrie Festa has been calling me, right? And he's saying that even some of the directors are not paid. The people who run the camp themselves are not paid. The only set of people that have been paid are the people up in Bush Hall. The camp that was run in Bush Hall with those councillors, they were paid. Whose constituency is that? Do you know, ZICO?
Me, Molly.
It's being alleged, and again, can someone verify this for us then? If what we researched this, and this is what we found out, but we could be wrong. What we're being told, it's only those in Bush Hall. So
And that is not right.
That's not right. So that means there is money then? Does that mean that there's money? But then they are choosing who they're going to pay when? Now, the last thing I tell you about this gentleman, he said to me, Miss Weekes, I called you because I have an opportunity to drive taxi and I need $50, ZICO. He said, I need $50 to finish getting my license. And I'm calling the Ministry of Youth and I cannot get my money. I heard that, it hurt my heart. You know, ZICO,
This is what they said. It is so frustrating because it's not even isolated stories that you're hearing. I mean, if you're really listening to the people, this is the cry among so many people in Barbados, and this is where the frustration comes into play. To know that, all right, cool, I'm not a big contractor, you know, I'm not the richest person on the earth, or whatever the case may be. I cannot go 3 and 4 months without a paycheck. So come on, deal with the small man. That money should have already been in place even the week before the camp came to an end. That money should have already been in place, just waiting to be signed off. I do not think that they look at the small man as a priority in Barbados, and that is where the frustration comes into play. And if not, they have to look at who's doing the bookkeeping and what's not, because it's ridiculous. It's no way that even for the same Carrie Festa that people still should be waiting to be paid. They've done their job, pay them. It is ridiculous. What message are you sending? You say, yes, we love the youth and we want the youth to do this. We're looking for entrepreneurship. We're looking for those who perform in arts. We're looking for, you know, the creatives. We're looking for, but really and truly, if you appreciate them, show them that you appreciate them. Show them that you take their talents and their services serious. But no, they don't. No, they don't. And this is the outcry for the people. This is the outcry for the people. It's not just one story you're hearing like this. It's too many stories like this. Too many stories.
It's too many. And when you see the hurtful thing is when you see the money that is being spent. Money being spent. I mean, you know what it is to cut an entire new road. And this is what we were saying when you were on, ZICO. And it's not that we should not, because I wouldn't want people to come to Carrie Festa and they leave and it you know, it popped down. You understand? Because that's bad for Barbados. Come on, let's be real now, okay? Because I went to this event and I felt very proud. It was beautiful, you know. But what I'm saying is that did we have to cut a whole new road? Especially when we know that there are people that the middle class and the poor people in Barbados are suffering like this. Crop over people are saying that some of them, they've not been paid yet. The summer camp people not paid. Carrie Festa people not paid. And we are splurging. We're splurging on private jets, if that is so. We're splurging, spending money, so much money on Carrie Festa. Cut down a whole forest of trees to put up tents. You know, it's when you look at what we're doing, and it just.
From what I know, there's supposed to be a new committee in place. So any money leaving the government's hand, whether to be distributed, whether it is to charities or even to pay for certain stuff, it must go through this particular committee. So I don't know if they're going to use that as the excuse why the money is moving so slow. This is to make sure that everybody's accountable for which money is leaving which ministry. So I don't know if that's the reason why they're going to say that this is the reason, this is the hold up. But even if that is still not an excuse that it cannot be expedited much quicker than this. And if not, you need to go back to the drawing board and find a way so you can pay the people. It is not fair. It would not be fair if an individual had done it. So definitely it's not fair that the government is doing it. It is
And
not fair.
and the thing about this is that most of these people, like the person who came and spoke to me about Car Festival, well, luckily the Minister of Culture is saying that they will be paid in, I think, by next month or something, that it wouldn't take 3 months. Um, when you think that a lot of these people, when they hear of this, that they could get a job, they're so excited. Zico, if you try to get in the mind, all you've got to do, if you might have your job and you're living in your nice house and you're buying groceries, good for you. But there are lots of people in Barbados that is not happening for. And when they hear that there's an opportunity for a job, Bajans are not people sitting down and just want a handout. They want to work. That's my experience, Zico.
You're
And I
correct.
think the average Barbadian wants to work. And so they go to work. Why can't you pay them weekly or monthly? Their situation. You should put, if you're a caring government, put all that you need to put in place and see to it that they are paid, even if it's every 2 weeks then. Because you have to cut checks and so on. You can say every 2 weeks that you pay the people. Make sure that they get their money, because
It's not a
they are,
concern for them.
it's
To them,
obvious.
it's not a concern. It's not a priority. And that's the sad thing, but because it shows a huge disconnect when you cannot relate to the man, to the everyday man's life. You do not know what it is. Even for a man to see $5 in his pocket right now is a blessing. So he could buy a combi for whatever it is that he has to do for he to send school his children. I mean, whatever money he can get in his hand is a blessing. To be so disconnected from that, because you can't remember what it is to go hungry. You can't remember what it is to just survive on ramen alone. For you to be so disconnected that you forget the small man needs his money to do whatever he gotta do. It's not for you to hold up and say when he get it, he can get it. It's not for you to do that.
I don't have people. There's something that a young man in Swan Street said to me. I see Theory there, and he has to let me know when he's ready to come in. Theory can give me a thumbs up. But I see you, sorry, Theory. When I was in Swan Street, I'll bring Theory in and then welcome him afterwards. When I was in Swan Street doing the Mic on the Move, gentlemen, I met this young man, and I'm going to go back and look for him. I want him to come on the show. And you know what he said? And if you are not sensitive, you're not going to understand what he's saying. Theory and Zico and my friends, my viewers who are watching, think about what he said. He said, ma'am, everybody would like to wake up and put their foot down on tile floor. Just imagine that. Get that imagery and that feeling. You wake up and you put your foot down on tile floor. He said this to me. He said everybody wants to go and turn on their water and can get warm water sometimes. Do you understand? He says everybody would like to have 3 meals a day. This is a young man sitting down selling little oils that they made. He also said to me, he said, ma'am, do you know that a lot of people go crazy because they're hungry? He said, you ever really hungry and see what it does to your mind? I will never forget that, Theory. Welcome, Theory. I won't forget that. And my husband and I were walking the other morning, a whole week after, and we were just repeating what the young man said. Because we get up and we put down our foot on our tile floors. You understand? We turn on our water and you get warm water. We live in our concrete homes, in our heights and terraces. This is him. And we don't understand what these young people are telling us, Zico. Zico, Terry, do you understand what this is? The young man here. You could feel what he's saying. Could you see the imagery and feel that? Good night. I can't
Marcia,
hear
can you hear me?
you. Yes, we're hearing you now.
Marcia, I ain't from the heights, you know. I from the hood. So I could feel what this, you know, I might not have had it as bad as some persons that I grew up with. They know what we talking about. Right? It's a human page of vernacular right now, it ain't easy. They not only that, if somebody is hungry, they can't think straight, you know. You
Mm.
got something to you know, you can't think
Talk,
straight, you
talk to me about that theory. Talk to me about hunger. Talk to me.
know. I can't be a hypocrite and say I ever really had to feel real hunger. I ain't come here and lie to nobody. But I just saying, be just if you can remember any time whereby you was real hungry, you shouldn't understand how you and then somebody telling you, oh, the rank do, right? Then you trying to say, Daddy, I want this, I want that. Then your noise, your mother and your sister probably crawling about standing house, picking up all this confusion. And guess what can happen? You can need a release, so you can gravitate towards weed. You can want small to easy pain. You know what I'm saying? And then you're still going back on the hustle. So it ain't easy. You know what I'm saying? It's a serious thing. That's why persons are like, for example, right? I don't really believe in superannuation, you know. I think superannuation failed Barbados, you know. I feel is a key reason why we are in the position that we in, you know. Because look at the end of the day, right? You giving trouble, and then you use the general return you giving trouble. But you're looking at now I can use a perfect example, right? It's better to do it this way. When I was at lodge, I was in the guidance counselor room. They just happened because I was head boy or whatever, you know about certain things, right? There was this youngster, right? His mother got kicked out of the house. But the landlord said, if you want to, you're a young man, if you want to stay here, and he's C16, if you could pay the rent, you can stay. Now
Mm.
this young man, right, and he's let me tell you, 16 years old, was going to school to do his taxes. He ain't going to work and pay the rent. Still got to buy food and still trying to start with himself at 16 years old, right?
Wow.
It's like Marcia, I sit on a crane that guy in his council office. Like as much as they was saying, there's more than that there that was going on. So much more was going on in that situation. I just show you. And they got so much more you in worse situations. Zico could get some examples, they know that for a fact. You understand? Some people just come and live up in the terrace. That like for me, right? I could just make bitch of a lot right now, Marcia.
Yeah, just be yourself.
Good. I can be real, right? That's why I don't really like. Yeah, he's going to certain places and that type of thing, you know, because of what you're exposed to. But like at the end of the day, I is more gravitate to persons that I grew up on in terms of the hood, because to me the hood is real. You understand?
Yes,
This
agree.
is real struggle, is real hustle, and it's people that genuinely want better for themselves. So people can't start.
Yes,
If people can't look down on people and say, "Man, you feel this here," and then don't come on me because you live this or a place. But really, actually, right? I can be real. I feel more love from people that in places that would say in squalor. Now people that I can tell you something. One person they had a rate. My aunt used to pay $300 something. So you could do the math on that amount, right? My aunt used to get up at 4 in the morning to go down by I didn't want to call the lawyer name, a big lawyer in Barbados, and she was only making a maid. My aunt used to make sure that every week, and my mother was still learning to be a nurse and stuff. And she was making sure that I had things, me that type of
one
thing. So you
second,
understand?
Terry. Is something playing? Do you have something playing in the background?
Yeah, you hear me good?
Okay, hearing better, I think now. Go ahead.
Right. So just telling you, showing me one personal experience, like the struggle real, you know, and it just get worse. So then when all this going on, I just preface this to show the Bajans, right, who may not understand, who may come and got the big jobs and that type of thing, right? If you never really experience struggle, if you never experience you trying to hustle and a man trying to steal you things, and then he's shooting at you all the time. If you never experience these things, then somebody trying to stab you up just because you hustling. These things I see for myself, you know. You know what I'm saying? So like ain't easy in the hood, you know, is a hard thing. And trust me, I ain't really grew up in a serious hood. Look at people in worse situation than me. So I can tell you from personal experience, it rough. When I look at this young man, I understand because I don't talk to this young man. I understand what he's going through. I tell you, it real rough. That's all I can say about that.
And you know what, Zico? He told me, because he reasoned so good. He says, mom, he felt so proud. He said, do you know I got a 1 in English language? He told me. He said, do you know that? I said, I'm not surprised. and he just wants better. He just wants better for himself, you know.
You,
Zico. Go ahead, Zico.
you know what's sad was really sad about it, because what you saying is absolutely correct. Even up to this week, I was counseling some youngsters and what's not. We was tackling, fatherlessness, and we was talking about if you had to be in your father's situation, but you forgave him or what's not. But long story short, he explained to me, one of the young men explained to me that the reason why he can't blame his father for going to prison because his father told his son, I have to provide. There's no way I can hear you when you're hungry and crying. I want something to eat and I don't know what to do. I can give up my freedom to make sure you get something to eat. And although I don't believe in victimhood, and I always believe there's a better way to do things, I could understand what he was saying. And his son sat down and said, I don't blame my father, because my father was to a point where he had nothing. He had nothing in his pocket. And he had to do certain things, whether it was legal or illegal. It's an easy choice to pick when it's time to feed somebody. And I understand, because I know what it is. I walk about, I lime, I chill, I interacted with people like these. I kicked football with people like these. I did crime with people like these. And I know sometimes it came to a point where they had nobody to turn to. They went to the politicians, they went to the churches, they went to all these, they're seeking for help. And everybody turned their head upon them because it was so distant and disconnected from the realities that young people facing today. And the sad thing about it, when somebody have to decide getting something to eat, legal or illegal, they may not want to tell us everybody's not inherently bad. Everybody don't just get up one day and say, I want to be a criminal. But sometimes being pushed to the end of insanity, pushed to hunger aids, pushed to a point where you sleep so you don't go feel the hunger anymore, but still waked up by the aching pains of gas and tummy aches and stuff like that because you can't eat. Or you look to the side and you realize that you child saying, daddy, or mommy, hungry. And you realize you have nothing in your cupboard to eat besides tea, sugar, water. What will it push you to do? So there's sometimes you realize, what do people they're probably where they commit all these crimes and stuff like that. But the number one solution is opportunity for resources. So these here can be able to provide for the family. And when you make it so hard for people who have honest livings, I mean, whether it is you may not look at it as them's creators, man, or them's the artists, or he's selling he all beside the street, selling his socks, his vest, or whatever the case may be, and you make it so hard for the young man or the everyday man to survive. What do you feel he's going to do? What are you pushing him to do? When he could look around and see a man who doing crime, like committing crime lavishly and shaking hands with the ministers, a man that you're known for committing crime, shaking hand and hugging the prime minister and hugging other ministers. What message does that send? For the man that trying and hungry and running out of options, don't know where to turn. And when he decides to go to the people within his constituency, or go to a church and ask for help, or go to an organization, people turn it on, or just give empty promises. What message are you sending? And people see, you could talk pretty on the TV, you could talk pretty on the radio, but seeing is believing. People will more believe what they see than what they hear. And it is sad. I mean, we could come and we could talk about, what the crime rate up so high and what this, but really and truly, crime does pay. And it's only going to take anybody with a IQ 2 to realize that crime does pay when they're hungry and when they have nothing to put food, or if they try doing the right thing and realize that, I have to put food on my table, if not for me, for my young ones. Until you get driven to that point of insanity, until you get driven to that point of frustration, until you go cry yourself to sleep when the nights come, wondering how you can get bills paid, wondering how you can get work, if you can even get a job, if you can even get paid for that job. What you feel? What you leaving people to do? What you really leaving people to do? And then you seeing the divide, and you realize that only when you got money is when you get concessions, or only when you got money is when you really get bread, or only when you got money is when you really get embraced. And then you try to do the right thing, you try to be the honest guy, you try to go there and make an honest living, and then you are turned on daily. It is frustrating. I mean, even when they sit down and try to talk to the young people, or when they sit down and they listen to the pleas and they listen to the cry, and it comes to these young people, sometimes it's like, I know what I can say, but really and truly, nobody will never ever feel the things that they're feeling. Because the boy don't care. People care for a moment. People listen and say, ooh, that's true. I'm going to live their lives. People do not care. What's the sense of telling a man, well, don't do this and don't do that, keep up the good word, and keep fighting, keep persevering, man, look at my story. All of that is good. But when you have to go back into a house where you have no running water, the light cut off, and then you're being threatened to be either put out or whatever because you can't pay the rent. What we're supposed to do? I can only talk so much. I can only do so much. I can only hire so much. But eventually, I understand the crazy of these people, and it hurts. It really and truly hurts. This young man every day getting up, selling his oils and watchdog, and then you can imagine he opening the newspaper and hear they want to remove him from that same spot. You can imagine how he feel. To know that no, he find an honest job and an honest little living to make a little dollar. Somebody won't remove him from his little platinum spot where he probably surviving and realize that this spot must be more conducive to him making money. I don't want to put it someplace else, probably because of whoever had the stores or whoever behind us. He said, I want them moving from my place. That's the reality of it. Not for the fire this and fire that. People can pretty it up, and people can come up with the best PR stunts and say the most elaborate, and be very we have the best linguistic abilities and all kind of thing. But really and truly, this is the crazy people. This is the crazy people. And it is sad because really and truly, these people do not care. These people go into the AAC, they get in the car, windows are roll up, have their tent on, 214 back from the office, get on the jet, fly back 214 when the election day come and give you your false promises, and then hope for the best for the next 4 years. Sad.
Wow. I tell you, you're talking, and I am just like, this is so real. This is so real. I was talking just last week alone. We're talking about the young people, ZICO and THEIRRY and viewers. But I was talking to two women last week. One woman with a son. And, in the public sector, they're doing contract workers. No, that's how they're employing them, THEIRRY. And so she lost her job. And this woman was just so low in spirit. She has a child, she has rent, she has her car, so that's another level of it. And a Christian woman, but she was just so low in spirit. All I could offer her was prayer. Another one called, she has her children, her water cut off. She only working 3 days a week, not because she don't want to work. You understand? But she cannot find something in Barbados at the moment for 5 days a week. And her water was cut off. What is she supposed to do? She has children. She has to get them ready. So she has to go to the neighbor to get them to bathe. This is a lovely woman with her family, but just cannot afford to. Is she pay the water because school bills is school time now, THEIRRY. So she is now going to take the money to pay for the school supplies. This is reality we're living in. And I want to keep myself in such a way, THEIRRY, that I'm not disconnected from my fellow Barbadians. Do you understand? I want to be able to stay connected to that. To the fact that if THEIRRY, I know you want to say something here. Dave, can you put up we have a picture of what the senior ministers get. I want to put that up on the screen because I wanted to see how these people are living versus how the average Barbadian is living. And let me tell you something before THEIRRY comes in here. A lot of times you see these people at fetes or you see them in Krapover. A lot of these bands, they give away the costumes, You all know that?
Yep.
A lot of those Carifest tickets were given to ministers to give. So it's always this thing, let the people party, and then we see them there and say, oh, but so much people at the party and so much people. There's a lot of comps. But THEIRRY, any thoughts before we move on? I know we want to talk a bit about we have 10 minutes to talk about the digital ID, but sometimes we just flow. THEIRRY, any thoughts, further thoughts on this issue, this topic here?
Marcia, all I will say to the people of Barbados is that we gotta sit down and start with the talk and let we do what we have to do. You understand?
When you said do what we have to do, how do we? And I'm sincerely asking this question, coming from talking to that adult male that's asking for $750, $150 a week, a big man, right? That's where we're at right now. When you talk about what we need to do, is this just talk? What do you mean by that, Terry?
I appreciate you bringing that to me, right? What do I mean by that, right? When we come and say that we want more, I think what is happening with the marches is the first step, right? Then the next thing is, right, if I know that in myself, I come from where I come from, this is something that elder told me, and I leave where I come from, I should be able to come and say, listen, I make it to a certain point, let me come and give back to my community, let me kind of try to help somebody, because there's no way I come from struggles, right? And I tell you, I talking about me, right? Once I know there's no promise to nobody, there's my own thing. Once I know that I got it, I gotta be able to come and say, listen, man, even if I can't necessarily give you money, which I can't put it in a grant, and then it could be business grants for everybody. But them sort of things. So I don't believe, like, as you grow as a person, you can't come and say, man, look, boom, this is what I need to do for my community. I always say, like, I ain't just calling in Raj that it don't the place they tell you where he from, right? He ain't got
Yes.
much. But anything want to do in the community they tell you from, he might as get do though. You know what I'm saying? So like we gotta do we part to like just solve this problem, because at the end of the day, these people don't care about you. They don't care about me. And, you know, listen, I be in situations where but I go like, you know, present myself a certain way. I be among certain people. I can be honest with you. I be in the highs and the lows. And I told you already, like we as the people that don't them I hold them is they see as the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. Like we all come and stand up and say, listen, let me care but we, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're doing your thing, I'm saying, but you don't just be handles. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we go come up with a plan whereby this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do, and this is how we can help one another. That's what we go do. That's what we're trying to say. What I am being clear, everybody understand.
Yes, appreciate that. And just to add to that before I get to Zico, don't want to talk out all the time, but I'm from these kind of situations, and like you, Zico and Theory, I love to be around. Um, I love to be around my people, and it just keeps me, it keeps me grounded, and they're so real, and I love it. And but I want to say I agree with Terry. Just being transparent with you, somebody who we did something for, some helped her with something, and then she just wanted to give back, and so she raised chickens, and she said I was coming home, and she told me to pass and pick up a few chickens, and I was so happy for the chickens, and as I'm coming home, I'm hearing, you're not keeping all of this to yourself. You understand, Zico?
Yep.
And there was somebody else who, home and sick and not, blah 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 blah. I won't have to go into, but you where I'm going. I don't have to say everything, but you understand.
Yeah.
And I'm saying because we don't always have it. I mean, I'm an average person like everybody else. And so you would think that, oh, we'll put that one, chicken's so expensive, you're gonna stack up these in the fridge now and season up all of them, and and keep them there for when you need. Ain't for you alone. You're gonna share these chickens, and chicken's expensive, right?
Very.
So I'm saying that I so agree with Theory, but um, Zico, boy, we might not get to touch that thing, but
Yeah.
but listen here, Adrian Hines says this. And Theory, I'm going to make sure you say something about the digital, because I know that's big on your mind. He says, return to the practice of voting a government out of office if they're not doing right by you at the very personal level. Now, one of the things that I don't know if you've had the chance, Zico, when you get some time,
Mhm.
and look at the number of taxes. Honestly, this is facts. Numbers don't lie, right? And we are more taxed now than ever before.
Ever before.
Even the sweet drinks that
Everything.
people drink and quench a little hunger, even though we know it just bring you up and drop you. But poor people would go and buy a little soda and buy something sweet to drink. That is tax too. So we are more
Extra.
taxed. Yeah. So when Adrian Hines made this comment, return to the practice of voting a government out of office if they're not doing right by you at the very personal level. And when you look at the screen at what our parliamentarians and our prime minister and how much they make, and think about this conversation that we're having, what's your response to Adrian Hines' comment?
First of all, even the comment itself, I agree with it. But the sad thing about it is that, as I said, it is social fatigue. So, like for right now, even don't even know who to vote for. You know, they lost faith in the government. They lost faith in people they just started the false promises. You know, even to the same example you brought with the soft drinks, and it was saying you're being extra tax it, you know, because of the sugar, and you know, we want people to start drinking more healthy, so we can put more prices on. But really and truly, you know, that's not what's going to happen. Majority of the times a person gets a carbonated drink is because it's carbonated. It's going to make your stomach feel full. Even if you're not full, it can help you feel full.
Yes,
That's the science behind it, basically.
it's true. Right? Like we talk like poor people. It is
exactly.
true.
So let me be honest about it and say that's one of the majority of the reasons why we decide to drink those carbonated sweet drinks is to make us feel full, even though we know we're not full. Even if it is full of gas, you know. And that's the sad thing about it, is that the people have come to a place where they don't know where next to turn, who to vote for. They're tired of the promises, and no one is putting their foot down and setting an example and showing that they really care. Everybody's tired of the game. Everybody runs a sweet game when it's time to talk. Everybody, oh, vote for me. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. I can do that. And then yet we still hold the responsibility and say, you know what? I don't want to not vote, and then somebody get in and then ruin our country, and we can't speak on it because we had the power to vote. And then you say, you know, I vote, so now I'm responsible for putting this person in power who decides to run this country into ruins. So it puts you in a dilemma like, what am I supposed to do? Who am I support? Who's the lesser of the two evils? And anytime you go into the place with who's the lesser of the two evils, it's not even a good thing to do, because you know for a fact you're not even comfortable to put you at some place and say, well, yes, I believe that this is going to be the better tomorrow. This is going to be the better Barbados. This is for the best of Barbados. So it puts people in that position. What next to do? Even the same young man, if you had asked him who he voted for, I can guarantee you he's going to tell himself, I'm not going to vote. I'm tired of this. I am tired of this. And we talk about insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over, but expecting a different result. And people have come to that place and say we're not going to see any difference in terms of, don't matter who it is that we put in power. I think what needs to happen is such a radicalization among our people is that we say, you know what? And I said it before, hold them hostage to our votes and remind them that you're a public servant. You are a public servant. You want this? You come in and you come to work for us. You come to grant us what it is that we want. You don't come to us and tell us what you're looking to do. We tell you what it is that we want to do. And I think it needs to be with that approach, that militant approach. No, but this is a B, is a D. No, I am a Bajan. I am for Barbados. I am here for Barbados. Forget the whole B, forget the whole D. I am pro Barbados. And once you have that in mind, because people believe, man, yeah, this whole family here to vote in B's for years. This whole family here to vote in D's for years, so they can do it. No. Hold them hostage to the vote. You will get my vote if these things are met. And this is how you negotiate. You work for us. This is what we want. This is what we want our ministers to do. This is what we want our prime minister to do. This is what we want the president to do. Rather than you coming to the table and saying this is what we're going to do. No. Enough of that. And I don't think we're coming together and really mobilizing and verbalizing and saying, well, listen, them old ways are how we voted, done with. We coming together as a united front, and this is what we want. And there's a time frame and when we want these things to be done. I think we need to come with that approach, a serious approach.
I mean, this is, listen, I feel like we're not finished this theory, because you know we could talk about all of these things. You know, we were supposed to talk about digital ID. You and I have been talking. You know what? That's what we came on here. But the truth is, this is bread and butter. And while that is so important too, but when people are hurting like this in the country, You've got to be sensitive to it, and so Theory, as we're closing up, because it's 8:30 and I have my other guest there, you guys have to promise me you got to come back on. We need to finish up this another time. And Theory, I'm sorry we did not touch on what you came on, but we're just flowing as the spirit leads. But Theory, I want us to close on this. Voting. ZICO is saying who you're going to vote for. But then he's also saying negotiate with the vote, right? Negotiate with the vote. My belief is that if we could get the politician that we're paying all of that money you saw on the screen a while ago, if we could get it in their head that, listen to me, one wrong move, we're going to vote you out. And we're dead serious. We don't care if it's a stick. We will vote in Ninja Man just to get rid of you. Do you think that's the approach that Barbadians need to take? Theory, as we close.
Marcia, I will say this. I do not vote. All right? Since I was eligible for voting, I do not vote. That's one. Two,
Why? We need to bring you back with that, because you got to change that theory.
Marcia, I don't believe in none of the two. Point blank. I was a young socialist, and I laugh because I don't like how snobby those persons are. I don't care if they get offended, it's the truth. The DLP, they need to do better. I don't vote because I want better for my country, and I don't like Westminster. But what I trying to tell you to close out, right? What ZICO said has been tried already, The people in Sao Paulo, Brazil, right? I have a friend in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They did the same thing. 1 year they didn't vote. I mean, like, nobody voted, You can research it, Marcia. And the government said, oh, they want to vote, no problem. The next time they met in Parliament, guess what the government do? They mandated that if you don't vote, you will get a fine. Yeah, in Sao Paulo, if that makes me find something, yes, it's real. You have to vote in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
I want to say, though, that the only thing, though I hear your theory, but the only thing, look at what happens, Theory, and my guess is there and has to come in, but I want to say you something. I want you to think about it before you go. And everybody up there who say they're not voting, that's how I started off when I was doing the show, Theory, that I'm not voting, right? And my husband, thankfully, talk and talk and talk till I realize what is going on here. That the reality is this: the only weapon that I have is that vote. That's all I have. I could sit on this thing and I could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. The only thing that because guess what? Do you realize that's the only time they come to your house? You see that? You have something that they want, and what they want is your vote. That's what they want. You understand? And I wish that I have been converted to believe that I must vote, because I had decided I am done. And when I make up my mind, I tell you. But as I keep doing these shows, but Marcia, really, just you're spinning in mud though. And the only thing I have that they want is my vote. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. That's why Indarware comes to my house to get my vote. Because my vote gives them the salary that they're getting, that you just saw on the screen. The only thing separate them from the salary is my vote. And we have to begin to understand that. But guys, I feel like we're not done, but I got to go because we have to deal with another issue. We have coming up Mr. Corey Greenidge. What am I saying? Attorney Corey Greenidge is coming on tonight. So, folks, I love to talk to the young people, but we will talk again. All right. Thank you so much, ZICO.
No problem.
Love you all. Thank you, Terry. Love you. All right. And we come back again. All right. Keep it real and keep safe. All right.
All right.
Please.
Yes. Bye-bye. Yeah. Oh, wow. Good night, Mr. Greenidge.
Good evening. How are you, Marcia?
I am doing great. I have to come out of that. That is painful to talk about, to be honest.
If I may, I had the pleasure of hearing just the final exchange you had with the two young men. And I would just like to tell the young men, maybe if they're still listening, not casting your vote is a vote. Staying out of the process, you have actually casted a vote. Not participating gives the politicians, no matter what side you're on, it gives them an opportunity to continue without having heard your voice. And even if you think that your one vote doesn't count, you can be an activist, gather your friends, multiply your vote through your activism. And but not participating doesn't take you any further. So that would just be my only comment to the young man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the pain of these young people. I don't know if you're hearing it as you go in your constituencies and so on, but it is very painful. I've never seen anything like this. The level of destitution and hurt that is happening to our people, our flesh and blood in this country. It makes you somber. It makes you thoughtful.
Yes,
Know.
I think as you're aware, this is my first time as a candidate. And
yes,
you agree with you, one of the most sobering things that I have encountered is to speak to individual voters. Yes, young people who say they can't find a job. I every time that I go into the constituency, and I'm in the constituency sometimes 3-4 days a week, I never fail to hear a young person say they cannot find a job. And I even encountered a young man last weekend who has a job, but it isn't enough. And he was saying, listen, I'm willing to do more. So I don't know if the present government is listening, but these are real issues by real Barbadians, young Barbadians, older Barbadians, everyone. And I don't know if I get the impression that the government is not listening, but I digress.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we are actually, I want to thank you for joining us and for just even giving your wisdom on that matter. I want to move on, but I just want to say to people that, we do this show because we love Barbados. And it's very time consuming. And to not be involved in the process, to just sit down and talk about what's going on and not be willing to change it. I'm not part of that. I can't. That is not being responsible. I love Barbados. And I want to see it changed. And I know that it can be changed. And that's why we do this show. I just want to say that. I'm seeing some comments and I want to say that. But over to you, sir. I heard you on the program last night, and I think you have such a gift to take the most complex concepts and break it down in such a way that the average person can understand. And that's what happened for me on DLP TV. I want to thank Honorable Ralph Thorne and the DLP TV and all of the wonderful guests, the panelists, and he did a great job in hosting. And I just want to say thank you for that. You're a gift to this country. That's my view. And I want to just move out of the way for you to just talk to us from visitor. This is my topic, from visitor to voter, Barbados democracy for sale. That's my topic. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, sir. You go ahead, take as long as you need to take.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. If, in fact, I do have a gift, I think that I am at a space in time where I want to make sure that that gift is available to the people of Barbados. I share your sentiments in that I do love Barbados. It is my birthplace. I have lived and worked here for most of my life. And I am here now because I believe that we are in an era and a dispensation of change. And I believe that the Barbadian people need to be aware of all that is happening around them, and be aware not just at the surface level. I think sometimes we politicians, we underestimate the Barbadian people's ability to understand and to digest and to have opinions on what's happening around them. And yes, some of it resides in complicated pieces of law, but I think that there is an inherent responsibility to come to the people and to explain honestly what is within the laws that we seek to pass that affects the lives of every Barbadian. So tonight, my job, coming on the heels of a national address by the Honorable Prime Minister on yesterday evening, where she addressed the issues of the free movement of people in Barbados, which took effect from today. The address was quite soothsaying, as it would be, to almost attempt to lay aside the fears of the Barbadian people. My job tonight is to look at that bill, look at what the Prime Minister has said, and be able to dissect a lot of what she said, and also to dissect what she did not say. Now, the free movement of people, it's not quite law as yet, but as in her address, she said that her cabinet is in full agreement with the measures. They will go into effect from today, but the actual bill, which is the Immigration Bill 2025, remains on the floor of the House of Parliament. And the bill has gone into what is called the Joint Select Committee on Governance. And that bill going into the Joint Select Committee on Governance does allow for the average Barbadian, for the public, to actually comment on the bill. What happens is that Parliament will put out a notice into the media when Barbadians have an opportunity to make comments on the bill. So listeners, you can wait out for that notice within the media, that you can opportunity to write in, and I believe sometimes there's even opportunity to make oral presentations before the committee on the bill. So the bill has not been passed into law, but the measures are going into effect from today. And the Prime Minister assured that no Caribbean national or no one entering Barbados would be prejudiced as the bill makes its way through Parliament. So we have an opportunity tonight to still look at a bill and to challenge a lot of what the Prime Minister said last night. And also, as I said, to bring attention to what the Prime Minister did not say. So let me jump straight into it. The free movement of CARICOM nationals is not a new thing. This was part of the initiative under the Treaty of Chaguaramas and under the free market and economy, the CARICOM free market and economy. It was part of the initiative to say that as a unified CARICOM, citizens of CARICOM should be able to freely move throughout CARICOM without having to apply for work permits. And there have been steps in the past that have come close or have moved the needle towards that. For example, you have the Skills National, the CARICOM Skills National Certificate, but that is something you have to apply for, and then you're able to go and work in different CARICOM nations. What this new initiative by the government does is that it removes a lot of those procedural requirements in order to come and work in Barbados. So what it does is that it removes a lot of that, and CARICOM nationals can now come to Barbados, receive an indefinite stay in Barbados, to not just stay and reside, but also stay, reside, and work in Barbados. The actual entry into Barbados as a CARICOM national is nothing new as well. This was settled law in the 2013 case. I'm sure many of your voters would remember, because it was a highly publicized case, the Shanique Myrie case against the state of Barbados, where the CCJ's ruling gave CARICOM nationals, based on the Treaty of Chaguaramas, gave CARICOM nationals a right to enter Barbados. What this new legislation does is that it's not now just a right to enter, but you can enter and you can go beyond. Normally, as Barbadians know, as you travel, once you enter, you kind of get a 6 months stay. And if you come up to that 6 months, you would then have to apply to the immigration department to either extend that 6 months or you apply for residency. What this new initiative does is that it removes those requirements. And at the point of entry, an immigration officer is able to give a CARICOM national, is able to give them an indefinite stay within Barbados. On the screen, you can see that we have up there the provisions of the new bill, and I've highlighted some of the key areas where it says a person can enter and remain in Barbados on such conditions for such a period of time. And if you scroll down to the next page, just to get the highlight. So
what section are you on? What section?
That's section 4.
This one.
This is section 4.1 of the immigration bill. So it says that that the officer can now grant entry of the CARICOM national for such a time as that officer determines. So there are some limits for students and there are some limits for persons coming to get medical attention. But broad strokes is that once you're a CARICOM national, you're able to enter Barbados and you're able to enter and be able to be given an indefinite stay, and you're able to work in Barbados. And
could you pause there, sir? Because we want to make sure we have the right thing on the screen, because we want for the viewers to be able to follow.
Yes,
so
that was the right.
This is the right one. Okay, yes. So that's it. Thank you, Dave. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it says there that a person, and if you just read the highlighted portions, a person can enter and remain in Barbados on such conditions and for such period. So before, when you came to immigration, your passport would be stamped for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Now this new bill is saying it could be for such period, an indefinite period that you can come and enter Barbados. So it's no longer restricted to 6 months. There are some other restrictions based on, again, if you are a student, or if you're a student, you're limited to 5 years. For example, if you're coming for medical attention, you're still limited to the 6 months. But those are just some exceptions. But generally speaking, a person, a CARICOM national, can come to Barbados now based on this proposed bill, and they can enter Barbados on the conditions that the immigration office sets, but they can be for such a period at the discretion of the immigration officer.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, sir. So this has nothing to do with what happened today.
No, this is exactly what happened today. This is exactly what is.
So it's just for the 3 countries.
Well, the 4 countries, including
Barbados,
themselves, right, including Barbados.
Just so the 4 countries, including
No,
Barbados.
what has happened is that the 4 countries have put this measure in place.
Right.
But this measure is for any CARICOM national, right? So what has happened is that St. Vincent, Dominica, Belize, and Barbados have gone ahead of its other CARICOM counterparts to initiate this initiative. So while a Trinidadian, for example, national could come and benefit in Barbados from this provision, a Barbadian, there is no reciprocal provision within Trinidad, in other words. So if a Barbadian went to Trinidad or went to Jamaica or went to Antigua, they would still be subject to maybe the 6 month stay based on their ability to enter, but they would not have the ability to stay indefinitely and work. So it's not a reciprocal arrangement. What has happened is that these 4 territories have taken the lead and have gone ahead of the other territories to implement this measure. A good example would be, for example, the ascension to the CCJ as the final court of appeal, where you have Barbados and other territories have taken the initiative to allow the CCJ to be its final court of appeal, but there are other CARICOM territories that have not done that. For example, Trinidad still takes its appeal to the Privy Council in London. So the point here is that there are certain provisions or certain requirements within the Treaty of Chaguaramas that some territories have gone full throttle ahead and have embraced those provisions within their local laws when others have not. So this is an example of that. And just to repeat, so those 4 territories, and I'm not examining the laws of the 4 territories, but based on what the Prime Minister has said, these four territories have now gone ahead and put within their laws the provision for free movement, whereas other territories would not have done that so as yet, right? Now, I want to state from the perspective of the Democratic Labour Party, we are in full support of the free movement of people. And I want to repeat that because oftentimes within our political discourse, people believe that the opposition just opposes things for opposing's sake. And this is not that. This exercise tonight, as I have done in the past, is an opportunity to not just take at face value what the government is saying, but it is to go beneath the hood of that car and begin to examine the engine that drives that policy to the extent that the Barbadian public can be properly informed of all of the implications of that policy. So the Democratic Labour Party is not opposed to the free movement of people. We are in support of it, actually, because one of the major things is that the Caribbean community does have to move towards greater integration. And the free movement of persons is part and parcel of that integration, and the Democratic Labour Party fully supports it. The Prime Minister last night, however, and I listened to her entire address 3 times because I wanted to make sure that I got all of the nuances. During the address, she said 2 things. She said, we need it and we are ready. So I want to piggyback on those 2 notions from the Prime Minister. Says we need it and we are ready. In addressing what she determined was the need for the free movement of persons, the idea is actually quite sound. The idea is that Barbados is an aging population. Mm-hmm. In the constituency, for example, in the constituency in which I am contending in the next election, which is Christchurch South, and I've looked at the numbers, 80% of the constituencies on the list in Christchurch South are over the age of 41. And 40% of the constituents in Christchurch South are over the age of 65. So Barbados, the statistics bear out that Barbados is an aging population. What does that mean? It means that you have a shrinking working class, a shrinking labor force that now has to bear the burden of the aging or the aged or the elderly in the country. And therefore, the contributions to national insurance, the contributions to the tax base then has to support an aging population. So the idea that we do need to address the issues of population in Barbados are very sound. That also means that you're trying to increase the labor force to the extent that there's greater participation in the labor force. That means that you have greater contributions to the NIS contributions, and you also have greater contribution to the tax base. So what the initiative seems to be aiming towards is to solve what is a problem of economics at the base level, to the extent that you have a labor force that is shrinking compared to a population that is aging. And you can look at the statistics and you can see that this is the case. What that is coupled with also, however, is an NIS fund that has come under pressure within the last few years, to the extent that this government has extended the retirement age. In 2018, there was significant debt that was restructured from the NIS, and there were losses within the NIS fund. So there are a lot of factors that come to bear on the economics of this situation. And therefore, part of the solution that the government seems to have adopted is to fast track this idea of immigrants, I beg your pardon, coming into Barbados to increase the labor force and have an impact on the economics of Barbados from the perspective that you have greater contribution to the NIS contributions, you have greater participation in labor, so you have an increase in the tax base, and you have greater production in the economy, which will have an impact on the GDP of Barbados.
GDP, yeah.
So the reasoning appears sound, but as we point out, you have to be able to look under the surface. And when you come up with policies that have one goal in mind, you always have to look at the extraneous or the peripheral impacts of that policy as well. You just can't get up and say, okay, this is the policy and this is what it will achieve, without having to look at the broader picture and to see if the other implications of that policy can bear exactly what it is you're trying to do. So I repeat, from the Democratic Labour Party's perspective, we are in full support of the free movement of people, if for no other reason as to the advancement of CARICOM unity and the integration of the CARICOM states. However, as has been the pattern of this government, there seems to be a gallop down the aisle of legislation without this large cabinet giving full thought and full analysis to all of the implications. And the Prime Minister's address was featured in the Barbados Nation today with a headline saying there's no trying to allay fears, there are no job fears. So this idea that she's trying to calm the concerns of the nation by simply coming on and speaking in a soothed tone and calling everybody her friends and my friends, and all of that is fine and good. But where is the analysis of all of the implications of this bill? So she said we need it. Then she says we are ready. So my question today is, are we truly ready for an influx of citizens from across the Caribbean into Barbados, to the extent that we raise the labor force and we raise the population? Are we in fact ready? And I put a question mark there, and I'm not going to conclude, but what I will do is that I will point out some of the areas that I think greater attention needs to be made in order to answer that question. And while the Prime Minister says that we are ready, I am not sure if that is true, to the extent that I believe there are concerns towards the social services in Barbados, and the Prime Minister tried to lay aside the affairs that no, there's no problem with the social services, that this is a fair, and we are just fair mongering. I believe there is issues in housing. I believe there's issues in education, and there are one or two issues that I hope to point out to you tonight. Now, let's start with the healthcare services. Once you become a permanent resident, and it was also in the address of the Prime Minister, you have full access to the universal healthcare, or the free healthcare as we've come to know it in Barbados, as a permanent resident.
As a permanent resident.
Yes, so someone coming in as a permanent resident, based on the information that the Prime Minister gave in her address, you have access to these services. So my question is, you have a scenario where we as Barbadians are already experiencing significant challenges within the public healthcare system, but yet you have the Prime Minister on the television last night trying to allay fears that if we now add 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% to our population base, that those problems are nothing to worry about. I tried to do some research. You have the Accident and Emergency Department, where waiting periods exceed almost 24 hours sometimes. And you hear the stories where people talk about being in the accident and emergency for over 24 hours. I personally know of a friend who told me his mother was sitting in a chair in the accident and emergency for 2 or 3 days.
Yes, I know of one as well. I know of several, 2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days. You have the drug service. You have the drug service have had in instances, there's an article in 2024 in the Barbados Today, where we've had to almost ration the drug service. We had shortages of certain brands of medicine, adjusting the insulin, and those shortages within the system. You have just 1 day ago or a few days ago, you have nurses who came under physical assault at one of our polyclinics. So you have a workforce where they have safety issues, where there are industrial relation tensions. So I'm just pointing out that it seems a bit disingenuous for the Prime Minister to say that there are no fears that everything is all hunky-dory simply because she's saying it in a smooth voice, when there is evidence within that you can simply, sometimes some of these things you can Google. There are evidence within news reports, within official statistics that show that there are issues within the healthcare system in Barbados. And I don't need to point that out in terms of research. Many Barbadians have family members or themselves have had to visit the accident and emergency. Many Barbadians have had to encounter being on the ward of the hospital and understand where sometimes you have machinery and infrastructure within the hospital that is unavailable, and critical care and critical emergencies and critical surgeries have then to be put off because they don't have the equipment. So are we ready? I am not sure. Our healthcare system is under tremendous challenges. And yet we are now going into a policy where we're increasing the population base and increasing the amount of persons that have access to that healthcare system, and it has problems. So are we then investing in healthcare? Can the government demonstrate that along with increasing the population base through the free movement of people, are we then concurrently seeing investment into our healthcare system to the extent that the problems that we are currently experiencing can be solved for the existing population of Barbados, and then can bear the load of a 1%, 2%, or 3% increase in the population? You understand? So it begs the question, when the Prime Minister say we are ready, are we truly ready? And the answer to that lies in all of the information that is available to the Barbadian people. And I say that I do not think, certainly from a healthcare perspective, that we are ready to have an influx of migrants into Barbados that will bring a strain on our already strained healthcare system. Let's talk a little bit about jobs. Well, let's first do housing. I'll do jobs after. You have just in recent, I think not as long as a month ago, you've had the, I want to say the politically correct thing and say the resignation, but we know that the gentleman was probably fired. But the resignation of the Minister of Housing, not more than a month ago. There are issues in Barbados as it relates to housing and the provision of affordable housing for our middle and low income earners in Barbados. I did some research, and you had pre-pandemic inflation on material, post-pandemic inflation on materials, I beg your pardon. So the cost of building has gone up in Barbados roughly somewhere between $250 and $300 per square foot, which is a 15 to 18% increase since 2022. So you have that the price or the cost of building in Barbados has gone up significantly between 2022 and now. And you have a situation where now that means that housing then is going creeping beyond the reach of some of the average Barbadians. You have a scenario where there are endless failures of housing projects within the government. The most infamous of which, I don't have to tell you, is the flagship Hope project, which promised 10,000 climate resilient homes.
Yeah.
And you have that failed project where many people had hope that there would have been housing for many low income and middle income earners, and it ended up to be a complete disaster. Again, we're the government, and this is not something that I am making up. You can read it for yourself within the Auditor General's report, where you have a government that spent in excess of wasted in excess of 60 million Barbados dollars of taxpayers' money, and don't have the result to prove it. And the minister, a day or two before he was ceremoniously relieved of his duties, he then promised another 13 or so thousand houses, and now he's gone. So the housing crisis in Barbados is very real, where a lot of Barbadians are outside of the ability to own a piece of the rock. Even the National Housing Corporation remains the core low or middle income supplier. But the housing stock of the National Housing Corporation goes in waves and goes in ebbs and flows. And you have people that have been waiting for years to be able to receive an NHC housing. So the question then is, where are all of these immigrants going to live? Do these immigrants, as they come in, do they increase the competition within the housing market? Even rents, there's pressure within rents, where a report by a local real estate company, one of the more popular real estate company, recognized an 8% increase in the rental rates between 2024 and now. So
Wow. 8%.
8% increase. And you have then that the cost of building and the cost of renting is going up faster than our incomes are going up. So you have persons remaining in the low and middle income bracket, and yet you have housing prices, the cost to build and the cost to rent going up beyond the income of Barbadians. So the question then for the government, is there a plan that when you have a sudden increase in the population triggered by this new policy of immigration, does the competition for housing now increase the prices even more? There's a case study in Portugal where they had a similar program of immigration in order to raise the tax base. And that program came under significant challenges because the housing prices were increased based on market pressure. The pricing increase. So then you have now not only inflationary conditions, but then you have market conditions pushing the pricing of housing up for the existing population. So again, the Prime Minister said we needed it, but are we ready? The Prime Minister claims we are ready. And my contention tonight is that you cannot simply have a policy initiative that has a goal that sounds lofty and sounds good and may even have merit without having examined all of the extraneous or the peripheral consequences to that policy initiative. I want to go then into the labor market. Now, within recent months, the report from the central bank indicates that our unemployment rate is low or has been decreasing. But the unemployment rate itself is now below pre-pandemic times. During the second quarter of 2022, it was 7.7%, and now it's recorded in the first quarter of 2025 at 6.3%. So what I want to say to your viewers, however, is that low unemployment rates can coexist with part-time and short-hour jobs as well. So while there is a report of low unemployment, and you had two gentlemen on your program earlier, and you were speaking about the struggles of young people, you have, I put to your viewers this evening, that there is an underemployment situation in Barbados. The official labor force survey shows, and this is a survey from the actual statistical office of Barbados, shows that 5.4 thousand visibly underemployed persons were existing in 2023. That meant that those persons were working under 40 hours a week, and they were seeking more hours a week. So I just want to repeat that. The official statistics. So again, this is not something that we are just making up as we go along. The official statistics out of the government statistical office demonstrates that over 4,000 people, for over 5,000 people, I beg your pardon, were actually under the 40 hours a week threshold, and they were seeking to get available hours. That is just about 4.4% of the actual working population. Even though there is a report of unemployment being low, or even back down to pre-pandemic times, there is a serious issue of underemployment in Barbados. I want to go a step further to say that there is a mixed match between the skills and the jobs that people are receiving. You had a nationwide labor survey which recognized that graduates who graduate from the University of the West Indies are working in jobs that are significantly below their skill set. So you had 27.3% of the employed persons with first degrees are in unskilled or what they determine as level 2 jobs, which means level 2 jobs are typically jobs that only require a secondary school education. So you have graduates with a first degree coming out of the University of the West Indies having to take jobs that can be filled by persons with either CXC or advanced level CXC, or persons who are typically just have a secondary school education. So again, these are statistics that I'm not pulling out of a hat. These are actual statistics that you can go and do the research yourself. So again, I want to always circle back to say, the Prime Minister said we need this policy, and she also said that we are ready.
Ready.
Are we really ready? And I want to bring that point home in that we wanted to say that here it is, that there is significant issues within the employment regime within Barbados, where you have underemployment, where people are below the threshold hours for the week, and you have people coming out of university degree who are underemployed, taking jobs that can be filled by persons who just have a secondary school education. But now you have an influx. You have an influx of migrant labor, and you have greater competition now within the market for those jobs. So the government has not employed strategy to give not just the quantity of jobs, but the quality of jobs, to enhance the economy with quality jobs such that your graduates here in Barbados can apply for those jobs. And yes, the migrant labor too. But if you don't have policies for job creation to go hand in hand with this migrant labor, then you have a situation where the underemployment is exacerbated because you have greater competition within the market.
Competition.
I heard the Prime Minister say, and oftentimes it's a bit of a bait and switch sometimes when you listen to the Honorable Prime Minister, because she tried to lay aside fears that professionals can't just come and set up jobs here in Barbados without going through the normal procedures that are required by law. That's true. If I, as a lawyer, if I now wanted to go, maybe let's say to one of the other territories, let's say Dominica, I still would have to be called to the bar in the OECS because I couldn't practice in Dominica. So even though there would be the free movement there,
right,
I would still have to apply to be to the bar there to be called to the bar in the OECS. And if there are any other licensing requirements, I would still have to go through those licensing. For example, in Barbados, you have to pay your professional fee in January and all those things. So that is true. But really and truly think about it. How many lawyers are going to pick up to go and set up practices somewhere else? That is not really the crux of the migrant labor. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a bit of a bait and switch.
It's not really about professionals. I understand what you're saying.
Correct. It's not. You're not going to necessarily have your doctors and your lawyers all of a sudden picking up their practices to necessarily go. And even if some do, that will not be the majority of the movement of labor across the Caribbean. I want to also address something that the Minister of Home Affairs and the MP for Christchurch East said in his address. They were having a branch meeting, I believe, about a week or 2 weeks ago, when asked about the same issue. And in such a scant regard, he says, well, Barbadian graduates can just go and find a job in Dominica. I thought that to be so tone deaf, where you are basically saying our policy is what it is, live with it or lump it.
Correct.
This sense of not realizing that those graduates and their parents voted for a government that can take care of its people. Now, I'm not being nationalistic, but the first responsibility, even though we're into CARICOM integration, is to the citizens of Barbados and to those graduates that are coming out of the university. There should be policies in place that allows them to have a choice whether they want to immigrate or not simply to tell them you can just go ahead and go to Dominica or St. Vincent. I thought it was tone deaf, where you have a sitting member of parliament who have been voted in by the Barbadian people and given such scant regard to the plight of the Barbadian people who want to live and work in their country, just giving them this kind of brushed aside that you can go and work in St. Vincent and the Grenadines or in Dominica. I think it was terribly disrespectful and terribly tone deaf. So I just wanted to highlight that the Prime Minister pointed out whether we need this policy in their estimation. And as I said, we as a Democratic Labour Party, we are not against free movement. But I do not believe, based on what I've laid out before you just now, whether we are ready. Now, I want to address another point that the Prime Minister made last night. And
but just before you moved on, you touched on you talked about our readiness as it relates to housing, healthcare, jobs. But I didn't hear education, although you had mentioned it.
Well, yes, education as well. And again, we know of the challenges of education reform in Barbados. We've had now in the space of, I believe, just about 2 years, we've had 3 education ministers. And we've had different iterations of what they term education reform.
Yes.
And we have not seen the fruits of that. We've had all sorts of consultations, and we've not been able to get it right. Apart from that, year after year within this administration, it seems that we cannot get schools opened on time. We cannot get our infrastructure within the schools to be up to par. We are building amphitheaters within weeks. We are laying down paved areas for all of these events within short space of time, and yet a very defined period. In other words, you know when the school term is going to start, and somehow the resources, the manpower, and the effort to open our schools on time seems to be something that is beyond the capability of a government that has the largest cabinet in our history and has a supermajority in parliament. I do not think that we are ready, and this government certainly is not ready. So there are issues within education as well that need to be resolved. So in a summary, you have to take care of home. You have to be able to take care of the Barbadian people before you fling the doors wide open and say everybody else come. Because what that does is that puts then additional strain on the social services. It puts additional strain on the already scarce resources in Barbados, now that it makes it even more difficult for the Barbadian citizens in order to access these services. So the idea that the Nation this morning published no job fairs, I think is disingenuous, because there is evidence that there are challenges within the healthcare system, within the housing infrastructure in Barbados, within education, and certainly within the job market and the employment situation in Barbados. So I believe that this measure is good for CARICOM. Barbados has always been a pioneer, fearless in some instances in taking the first steps towards greater integration within the Caribbean. But I do not believe that it must be done in a way simply to score legacy points or reputational points at the risk of exacerbating issues that are already existing within our society. The Prime Minister said something last night, again, quite the reassuring voice. And I want to quote her. She says, "Information calms the spirit. Information calms the spirit." I want to ask this question. If information calms the spirit, and you only gave us part of the information, what happens to our spirit at that point in time? How much information is required to calm the spirit? Who makes that determination? I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek to make this point. The Prime Minister addressed the immigration bill in her address to the nation last night, but she made absolutely no mention of the citizenship bill. These two bills are before the Parliament of Barbados. What governs the free movement of persons is the immigration bill.
So let's be clear for those, because I think people are are conflating them. They're kind of, everything feels like it's one thing. But everybody listen up, guys. You're making a separation, and you're saying, well, it's separated, but we hear it as one. There's
Yes.
immigration and there's the citizens bill. So he's switching now to talk about the citizens bill. Listen up. Continue,
That
sir.
is correct. That is correct. And thank you for the clarification. And I'm going to say that it's almost a classic tactic in political theater, where if you're distracted with one thing, it's almost impossible sometimes to focus on the other. In other words, if everybody's attention is drawn to talking about the immigration bill, talking about the implications of the free movement, they may miss the citizenship bill. So I call these two bills brother and sister tonight, almost twins, because the Prime Minister never addressed this. And I am making an appeal to the Prime Minister to come back to the Barbadian people and address the provisions that are in this bill and the implications of the provisions that are in this bill. The citizenship bill, as with the immigration bill, is also before the Joint Select Committee of Parliament on Governance. So we should expect that we should have an opportunity also to comment on this bill once that notice comes out. What this bill does, and I'm going to try to carefully draw the nexus between the immigration bill and the citizenship bill. And as you pointed out earlier, Ms. Weekes, I think there is a clear responsibility for us outside even now of I wish the mainstream media would do it with more veracity, but in the absence of a mainstream media that is willing to go under the hood, I am happy with yourself, Ms. Weekes, with DLP TV, and on every opportunity that we get to go under the hood and let the Barbadian people know what is happening within the precincts of Parliament and the policies and the legislation that are being passed that will affect our lives. Now, as is on your screen, the citizenship bill repeals the current Barbados citizenship bill in its entirety and replaces it with this, well, the current law, I beg your pardon, not a bill, because it's the current Citizenship Act, I beg your pardon, and replaces it with this proposed bill that is now before the House of Parliament. It makes some drastic changes to the requirement to become a citizen in Barbados. As is on your screen, I'll give your viewers or your listeners the broad strokes. Prior to on the old bill, the old bill, which is the old law, I beg your pardon, the old act that is going to be repealed, you were eligible for citizenship in Barbados if even though you were not born in Barbados, you had a father or a mother that was born in Barbados, and that was the extent of it. This new bill now will extend that not just to if you are the son, if your mother or father was born in Barbados, but if your grandmother was born in Barbados, or if your great-grandmother was born in Barbados, that child has the right then to apply to be a citizen of Barbados. So it's the first significant change is that it extends the lineage, it extends the descendants from just one descendant being that your parent or father or mother was a citizen of Barbados, and even though you were born outside of Barbados, you could apply for citizenship. But that is now extended to 2 generations further, right? So that's the first one.
In total, 3 generations.
In total, 3 generations.
Right.
If your producer could just scroll up a bit to the next highlighted area.
Yes. Section 5 here?
Yes, subsection 5, yes.
Subsection 5.
Now, it allows now if you are a national of CARICOM, this is what it says in a member state. If you are born in a member state, that's any of the Caribbean territories that are part of CARICOM, your spouse or your dependents, your children, any of those persons, they have a right to apply for citizenship. And if you can scroll down just a bit more onto the next page. Great. So those persons, firstly,
Yes.
if you are a citizen of a CARICOM state and your wife is here with you and your dependents, your children, you can apply to the minister to become a citizen of Barbados if you have simply been here for 3 months in a 2-year period, in the preceding 2-year period. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I actually made the wrong note there. It's not 3 months, it's 6 months. That's my error. So 6 months within so 6 months within the period, the preceding 2-year period, you can apply for citizenship. That's 180 days, 6 months. So I want to say that again for clarity. Before, a CARICOM national who was part and parcel of what was termed Commonwealth citizens, in the previous act, needed to be in Barbados for at least 5 years within a 7-year period in order to apply for citizenship. Now, that 5 years has been reduced to simply 6 months within a 2-year period. It's just 6 months. In addition to that, even someone who's not a national of a member state, as I pointed out there, highlighted as well, who is not a national of a member state, their spouse and their dependent, if they have been in Barbados, resident in Barbados, for a mere 9 months in a 3-year span, they too can apply for citizenship of Barbados.
So hold a minute. So I want to, this is very, this is very serious here. So you're telling me that if somebody came from Iraq, right? And it's 9 months, and they're 9 months in it's a 2-year period.
It's 9 months within a 3-year period.
Within a 3-year period, that they can apply for citizenship, just like that.
Yes, just like that. And not just them, but their spouses and their dependents.
Their spouses and their dependents.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, yeah. So, again, the Prime Minister did not address this in her address to the nation last night. But these two bills are twins. And I'll tell you why they are twins. When I first read the citizenship bill, I thought that the reason for the citizenship bill was all of the economic reasons that we pointed out in terms of addition to the NIS contributions, addition to the labor force, such that you have a larger tax base. So you had increase in tax revenue, increase in productivity. So you had increase in GDP.
Yes.
When I went on to the immigration bill, I noticed that you did not have to become a citizen to achieve those goals.
Right.
So the permanent residents, when they come, they have to go and they have to get a national registration number. They have to, once they're working in Barbados, they have to register with the NIS. They have to register with the Revenue Authority, such that they have to participate in that economic activity, right? So there is no reason, there's no real economic reason why you needed to reduce the qualifications for citizenship. And the Prime Minister did not address this yesterday. And I am asking the Prime Minister on behalf of the Barbadian people to return with the same smooth voice and explain what is the reason that now a CARICOM national can come to Barbados and get citizenship within a 6-month span once they've been here within a 2-month period, within the 2 years prior to the application. There is no reason that I can give you, well, let me put it differently. The Prime Minister has not offered any reason because she did not address it. I sent your producer a clip shortly before the show. It's a YouTube clip of Peter Wickham
Yes.
interview with CBC. Could you play that clip for your viewers if possible?
Yes, he will get that. You could, yeah, continue, and then we will get that for you.
What is happening in Barbados? And
Mhm.
I want to say to Barbadians, open your ears. Those young men that were on your show earlier before I came on, open your ears. The last young man that spoke said he does not want to vote. There are issues that affect our lives, and we need to participate in this process. The voting, the last election was called in 2022 right at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The turnout was way low. You had over 6,000 voters unable to vote because they were in quarantine. And we now have a democratic system where people are apathetic and they do not want to participate. I think part of my job and part of my duty, not just as a candidate, but as a citizen, I think is to educate the people to the extent that they understand the issues that are pervading our system right now. I see you have the clip
Yes.
teed up. If we can hear the Peter Wickham.
Comfort by the ABLP, and as a result, they would have supported the ABLP in elections. This tells me a lot about what is likely to happen in the case of Barbados, where you may have large quantities of people moving in and settling. And that really is the reality, that they are likely to support the government that was in office when they were given the opportunity to move and reside. Because generally speaking, people look comfortably on a government that has given themselves and their family comfort and a start. And for this reason, my sense is that is the likely impact, because the requirement is that they're living, but there's no requirement or presumption that the person is living legally. So the threshold that you have to reach to become a permanent resident of Barbados is far higher than the threshold you have to reach to become a legitimate voter in Barbados, based on the fact that our electoral laws allow people who are living here from the Commonwealth to participate in elections if they've been living for a period of months before the election is called. And that is something a lot of people don't understand. And that essentially sets the stage for what can be a major positive impact in terms of people who are moving and become recently migrant when you consider the two issues. These people would have been.
So Mr. Wickham ended his comments there by saying that it's a positive impact. Mr. Wickham fancies himself an independent analyst. I make no apologies to say that oftentimes what I hear him say and read his work, his biases are very clear. That notwithstanding, however, even though he sees it as a positive, if you have a scenario now where the citizenship bill, now he said something there that was interesting. If your producer can pull up the extract I provided for him on the Representation of the People Act.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just pull that extract onto the screen. Now, while he pulls up that extract, in order to vote in Barbados, there are two ways in which someone can get onto the register of voters. Now, I want to clarify something very quickly. If you are working in Barbados, if right now, and you have a work permit and you're working in Barbados, you have to get a national registration number, which means that you can get an ID card and you can work and pay your taxes. The ID card itself does not get you onto the register of voters. The criteria for you to get onto the register of voters is, one, you're a citizen. I believe you can scroll down just a bit. Let's have your producer scroll down just a bit. I think to the end of that page, and then on to the second page. You're right. So this section 7 of the Representation of the People's Act says, the highlighted portion that you can see there, a person is qualified to be, and you can scroll down. Right, so a person is qualified to be registered as an elector for a constituency. And by elector, it means a voter. So you can be registered as a voter under two conditions. One, that you are a citizen of Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
And remember from our last class, those words "or" and "and" are very, very important. That's why I highlighted
Yes.
those in red. So you can either be a citizen of Barbados, or
Yes.
you can be a Commonwealth citizen, and this encompasses our CARICOM nationals.
Yes.
A Commonwealth citizen who has resided in Barbados for the last 3 years. So it's not a citizen that has resided. And there has seemed to be some confusion within the media and some officials, suggesting that even though someone becomes a citizen, they had to be a citizen for 3 years in order to be on the register of the electors, register of voters. That's not true.
Right, I see.
Based on what I've taught you, Ms. Weekes, I know
Yes.
that you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
That in order to, so a person can get onto the register of voters, if one, you are a citizen, or you are a Commonwealth citizen or a CARICOM national who has resided in Barbados for a period of at least 3 years immediately before the qualifying date, and you are 18 years old, and you have resided in the constituency for 3 months before. So B, C, and D relate to if you are a CARICOM national, it means that you have residency in Barbados. So the residency requirement means that you would have had to have been here for 3 years, a minimum of 3 years, right? So so we want to marry the two bills now. We want to bring this home to our viewers. You have the immigration bill, which has now opened up our borders, and not just open our borders, but have provided that the persons can come here and work for an indefinite period, and they get residency when they do that. Once they come in, they'll get residency. They're permanently resident in Barbados, and therefore they can qualify under the Representation of the People Act. They can qualify to be on the list of voters in 3 years, a minimum of 3 years. This is settled law in Barbados, because if your voters would remember, there was a case in 2018 of the Professor Eddie Ventos, who brought an action against the Electoral and Boundaries Commission because he wanted to get onto the list of voters, and they denied him. And the court reaffirmed this section here that says if you are a CARICOM national, you have been here for more than 3 years, and you can demonstrate that you've been living in the constituency for the 3 months prior to your application to be on the register, you can vote, right? So again, we're marrying the two bills. The immigration bill that the Prime Minister spoke so eloquently about the policy last night, very eloquent speech, takes care of the residency, which means that you can be here if you're here for 3 years and you demonstrate 3 months before.
Yes.
To vote.
With the B, C, and D, I get it. Yes.
But when you now reduce the requirement to become a citizen down to 6 months, you have now reduced the requirement for voting from the 3-year threshold on the residency to the 6-month threshold based on the citizenship bill.
Yes.
You now have, and in the words of Peter Wickham, who often, as I've mentioned before, unapologetically, when you hear him, you can tell that his bias is for the government, who in his own words, don't mind, he assessed that it's a positive thing. In his own words, based on his analysis he was talking about some other election, I wasn't sure which election he was talking about, but based on the patterns that he identified, persons who come in under those conditions tend to favor the government who gave them the opportunity to come in and work and get a living in Barbados. So he is plainly saying that it is likely that a voting base for the ruling party would be increased by these influx of persons. And along the two twin bills now allow for the threshold to fall from the 3 years on the residency to just simply 6 months.
6 months.
I will go a step further to Mr. Wickham and say that it is likely that a person who has been here for 6 months is more likely to have more recognition of somebody who has name recognition and regional and international name recognition, and will likely be voting for that person. So
The Prime Minister did not address this last night. And I say that she should. I am a voter. I am a citizen of Barbados. I would like to know what is the reason that this government now insists that you should become a citizen of Barbados within such a short space of time, when the previous or the existing law is that you had to be here for 5 years in order to become a citizen. You had to be here for 5 years within a 7-year span. In addition to that, Ms. Weekes, all across the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Jamaica, all of the requirements within their legislations are similar. It's uniformed, roughly uniform, in that there's usually a 5 in 1 or 2. It's a 4-year period within a 7-year span. And you had to actually you had to have a contiguous 12 months before the actual election before your application for citizenship in order to become a citizen. So again, it begs the question, is there a bait and switch? Is there an underlying reason why all of a sudden, and we are approaching an election that is due now within the next, by my calculation, within the next 15 months, 15 to 16 months, that an influx of voters, an influx of immigrants can get citizenship within 6 months. And based on Mr. Wickham, who's often has the bias towards the ruling party, in his own words, those influx, those persons that come in will likely be voting for the government that brought them in. I believe that the Barbadian people should ask its prime minister to return to the camera and in a smooth voice explain to the Barbadian people what is the necessity, what is the goal that you're trying to achieve by opening up citizenship of Barbados. And it cannot be because of the economic reasons, because those are resolved based on the residency. Those are resolved by the immigration bill.
The immigration bill.
Right. What is the purpose of revamping the citizenship to the extent that you have now dropped the threshold all the way down to 6 months? We have to hold the hood up, Ms. Weekes, and look under the engine and see how it's working. See if there's enough oil. See if we need to change any parts. Do we need to take this bill and pull out that engine and hang it up and change it? What is happening in our government? Why are we in a situation where you come on for 32 minutes, you speak to the Barbadian people, and you wax poetic about all the wonderful things that this new initiative for free movement of people is going to bring to Barbados, and yet you have another bill, a twin bill, in the parliament, and you make no address about it. What are you hiding?
Because it says, when you search for the bill, it says immigration. It says it's immigration and citizens bill. It's together, right?
No, the two bills are separate pieces of legislation. The immigration bill is a separate bill from the citizenship bill. But the point I'm making is that, having waxed poetic about all of the benefits and these people that are coming in, why not tell the Barbadian people that you now have a policy initiative that would give them citizenship in Barbados?
Wow.
The discussion has conflated the two issues, you see.
Yes.
It has conflated the two issues to the point where someone may very well not see what's happening. But it is our job. And I pray that your viewers are listening. Go on to the Parliament website, pull up the immigration bill. You just have to hit bills before the House, and they're there. There's an immigration bill and there's a citizenship bill.
Citizenship bill, yeah.
And the Prime Minister should come back to the people of Barbados and explain. Let me tell you something. The voters list in Barbados needs significant work. Right now, and I checked this myself, the latest list that has been published by the Electoral and Boundaries Commission was published by law in January 2025, this year, January 2025. And that list was updated in May 2025 because of the by-election in the constituency of St. James North. And when I checked that list, Over 2,000 people are on that list between the age of 100 and 118. We know that's not true, which means that the list has
Okay.
significant challenges in the list. Yet you want to have an influx of voters, really, who can become eligible to get onto that list. Remember, I said the representation of the people that they can be eligible for citizenship after being here for 6 months within the previous 2 years
2
of
years.
their application. And yet, you want to have a scenario where you have a list that's inaccurate, challenges within the electoral system, and you want to flood it. Let me tell you something. In 2019, in Dominica, there were significant issues with the list. And there were
Yes.
significant issues with respect to electoral reform in the country. And
Yes.
that threw a real stain on the democratic process within that country in Dominica in 2019. This government needs, this prime minister needs now to come back to the people and explain what is the purpose of the citizenship bill. I'm only speculating, to be honest with you. I think that I can draw the necessary inference based on even the words of Peter Wickham. But we want to hear from our prime minister. What are we expecting is going to happen as a lead up to the next election? Are you securing a certain percentage of votes to hold on to power? What is the purpose? These are questions that I think are fair questions that we need to ask the prime minister.
Wow, this is another one, and I love what you call it a bait and switch, because truthfully, whenever I think of these two bills, I see them together. In fact, I think they were brought to the parliament together, weren't they?
They were brought to the parliament together.
They're brought into parliament together. Now, I research as based on what you said to me, and found out that you're right, that it's with the Joint Select Committee at the moment, right? And what was not clear to me is whether they were now open to the public, or when they're going to be open to public, the public uh, um, making comments and making recommendations and so on. And I think Barbadians need to be listening out for that. Don't you think? Although I know we have another caller, or do you have a time? Have you found out when the public is able to give their suggestions and recommendations?
Once the bill goes to the Joint Select Committee on Governance, I beg your pardon, it is supposed to be able to be subject to comments from the public. When that time comes, the clerk of parliament would issue a notice within the media that the comments can be made. So the Barbadian public can look out for that notice, and once that happens, you're free to make, oftentimes it's written submissions, and I believe there's an opportunity to even make oral submissions if they so permit. So yes, once it's with the joint committee, we check today with Parliament to confirm. Once it's with the joint committee, the clerk of Parliament will eventually issue a notice in the media in order for them to receive comments from the public.
Wow. Well, we have to get ready with our. I started writing mine today. I tell you, after we spoke, I'm serious. I sat down and I started writing mine. I sent it to you to look at it. But everybody, and we're going to whip up that support, and they're not going to get away with this, Barbados. They're not. We have a caller on the line. I hope it has to do something with what we're discussing. Welcome, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Hello, good night.
Good night, ma'am.
I'm listening to Corey Greenidge.
Okay. Can you speak a little louder?
I'm listening to Corey Greenidge.
Yes, that's better.
And I want to say that I'm quite impressed with you. From the moment that I heard you, I was very, very impressed. I want you to know that, right? And this is not, to make you feel, but the truth. I'm a person like to deal with the truth. And I want to encourage you, because I watched a short deal with you, I I think you were at church, and you spoke about this old lady, how she saw you and she prayed for you, you know, and now you are here. I want you, Corey Greenidge, to continue to look to Jesus, because what you are doing, I believe that Jesus Christ gave you the ability to do it. It's not just going to UE and, you know, these different things, not just that alone. It's the ability that I believe that God has given you to be able to come and you explain, as Marcia was said earlier, you explain in such a way that the youngest, smallest layman can understand you, and I appreciate that, okay? But I also want to talk about the voting and the CARICOM and, you know, the different people that come in from the different Caribbean countries. And what I'm getting is that people seem to be helping people get votes to keep what they have, okay, from different Caribbean countries. And I'm talking about heads of government. I'm not just speaking about, you know, they're using their citizens to help one another. So today is your turn to vote for election. So I will send my people to help you. Next time is mine. You will send yours to help me. Okay? To me, it looks like that is kind of what is going on as well, to make sure that I keep my position as governing government. All right? But the only body that, as I said before, and I will keep saying it, only God can help us with what's going on in this country, man, because it's a spiritual thing. Okay? It ain't only natural. It's spiritual and very dark and very evil that is going on in Barbados.
Yes.
Okay? So I just want to.
But caller, caller, before you go, I want to I know you said, and a lot of people and myself included, you know, we believe that in the same way that I personally believe that God sent Mr. Thorne over, I believe this gentleman here, and along with others, God is putting his people in place to help Barbados. Now, you and I recognize that, but I want to ask you a personal question. What are you going to do after hearing this good speech? Because we love to say, you know, we love to give the compliments. It's a great speech and he did well. Caller, what are you going to do having heard this tonight? Caller?
Okay. What I'm thinking that for me, in terms of voting, okay, because you're seeing so many different things happening and hearing, you know, it would deter you, as the young man would have said earlier, he don't vote. But when I said I'm not going to vote, it will not help the situation. So for me, the thing to do is to step out and vote, because it will make a difference. You know, that's where I'm at. I will vote.
You will vote.
Because I need to vote.
So
because we can talk, we can do all kind of things, but if we don't vote, you know, there's a lot of Bajans that they're not voting because they're upset. They don't trust the parliament. Okay, we understand that, but at the same time, if we don't vote, what will happen?
Yes.
The madness, the craziness, the evil, it will continue.
Correct. So it's more than just the praying. Because I can tell you're a praying person. You're moving it beyond prayer and moving it.
And also, the Bible says, faith without works is dead.
Yes. Okay.
So we have to pray and work and function as well.
Yes.
And one of the next thing that I want to because you know it has nothing to do with this show that y'all would mention, but just want to mention the president of El Salvador. I think it's El Salvador, that president. I don't know if y'all would have followed or watched any of the videos with him, what he has done in the country with the crime. And, you know, even sitting and listening to him, I didn't listen to all, but I listened to some. And, you know, one of the things that he would have said, that crime can be dealt with. It can be if you want to. Okay? Remember, he spoke to President Trump as well, And it's like Trump want him because Trump want to implement probably what he did. It appears that way. Okay? But I'm saying that he's saying if you want to fix the situation in a country, you can fix it and make it right if you want to. But if you don't want to, if it is benefiting your pocket and benefiting you and whoever with you, you don't need the problem to be fixed. Okay?
Yes.
So that's all I have to say. Thank you and have a wonderful night and God bless you.
God bless you, and keep listening, and please tell somebody at work tomorrow, if you go to work or you go in a church group, pass this on to them, pass the information, tell them what you know, and then pass the show on to them. Okay? That's something that you can do as well. All right? Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye. I hope you were hearing clearly, Mr. Greenidge.
Yes, I was, and I do want to thank the voter for her kind words, and I do promise to continue where I can make a difference, and continue to try to educate the Barbadian people.
Yes. There was somebody who called, and so we're going to try to get them back. They were calling during your presentation. But is there anything else you want to say to the viewers as we wait on the next caller?
I would just want to sum up by saying let's continue to hold this government to account, and not simply to bury our heads in the sand and to be beguiled by fancy words and soothed voices. I think it is an opportunity that we need to have, to bring ourselves to the place where we can make a difference by making this government accountable for its policies.
Yes, Mr. Greenidge, we have another caller. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show. This one is from the Diaspora. Go right ahead, please. We're happy to have you.
Yes, good night, Marcia, and great job, Mr. Greenidge. What I think Bajans have to get to the point with is, you really want to get a despotic governance out the way, you have to really win the hearts of the people. But what I don't understand is how Myanmar continues to do these kind of like done deal negotiations. And what I realize that she's doing, things that she cannot get done in 1, 2, 3 in Barbados. She goes far wide to more or less negotiate or mediate these things, so that Bajans is almost like what they call it, suggestive witchcraft. It's almost like see XY doing it, so we can do it too. That kind of thing. That needs to stop. Bajans have to understand that yes, you are small people, but Bajans still deserve to have dialogue. Ask Senator Dr. What's her name again? Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Too much things in Barbados have been going with little to no dialogue or passion of the people, and then you hear that it is done. A government like that needs to be voted out. A government like that needs to be voted out. I mean, my last point is this: I don't care if Myanmar go and bring all of her friends from the Caribbean. All of Barbados will still be more than her friends that she will bring in from St. Vincent, especially St. Vincent, of course, in the hope for St. Vincent, and wherever else that the people are coming in from. They just have to wake up, because this pretty talk does not win elections or not. Donald Trump would not be in power today. Pretty talk does not win elections. Real people getting on the ground and understanding the heart of the people. You know what people message me or tell me that they're in Barbados hungry, can't eat and can't this and can't that. Nobody don't know that because she's too busy in a jet flying all over the place, talking a lot of sweet things, what they call sweet nothings. They just need to stop with this, that we are this pious, we call sweet and dandy people, hands clasped and eyes closed. That is not so. If Bajans were like that, 1937 would have never happened. Bajans are not these little pious cute people that you can just do anything or rub anything in their face and call it shit, snow cone. Okay, that's my last. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
Thanks again to Mr. Greenidge for dissecting the information. But politics does not win elections. That's all I have to say.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling. We appreciate it. Mr. Greenidge, any thoughts on what the caller has said?
I think my takeaway from the caller is that he's really calling Barbadians to action. He's rejecting the apathy that we are seeing within the citizenry. He's rejecting the fact that we have to be smarter than just the pretty talk and the fancy speeches and the soothed voices at 7 p.m. in the evening. My friends and my fellow Barbadians. If this is how you treat your friends, I would hate to see how you treat your enemies. He pointed out that there are people, I read some of the comments there by your viewers. There are people who cannot afford to go to the supermarket, but yet they're my friends. There are people who cannot afford to buy school uniforms, and yet they're my friends. It's my friends, my friends, my friends. No, we want to see real care and real concern for the things that the Barbadian people are going through. And if this government cannot demonstrate that, then I agree with the caller that the Barbadian people need to come out in their numbers and elect a government that truly cares about what's happening in their lives.
Yes. Very, very well said. I think it's, as you said, it's a call to action. I mean, this is something that we need to, one, as I said, we need to get ready to make our submissions to the Joint Select Committee, especially about this Citizens Bill. It is very important. We cannot be asleep right now. We need to be alert. This is what we did for the cybercrime bill. Be ready if they're going to ask for oral presentations or whether it's written presentations. We will hope that through Mr. Thorne that we'll be able to know exactly what is happening, right, Mr. Greenidge?
Yes.
I'm sure just like the last time, we'll be able to be fed the information. We know what to do so that we can actually prepare. So we are going to we need a petition. Somebody out there start a petition now. We don't listen. This is all of us involved in this. Start a petition. And of course, in the next 2 weeks, this is not this Saturday, because we're going to continue to educate the people on it, but the following Saturday. All right, Dave, if you can tell me kindly what date that is, that's when we're going to go back on the streets. We're not going this Saturday because we need to understand it and to get more public, teach the people more about it, because everybody on here tonight, as we always tell you, take it to work tomorrow. Come on, talk to the person sitting across from you, somebody you go to lunch with, talk to the people at church. And what we're telling them is truth. This is not propaganda. This is fact, right? Show them, tell them if you don't get it. And I think most of you understand already because it was very clear. Go and tell the people at church. Tell the people you stand up at the bus stop with. Let them know what is happening in this country. Tell the people in the bus. Anywhere you go and you have your friends, you're talking, find a way to put it in. And educate the people. Let them know, come out and march. Let them know when you see the petition, sign the petition. When it's time to go to the parliament, to whether it's oral presentation or we're going to write, everybody get involved. Also, can't we also, Mr. Greenidge, go on the Parliament website? There is a space that
Yes.
you can go and comment. Please,
Yes.
people. Over 1,000 of you are on here tonight. Flood the Parliament website with comments, please. Go ahead. You were saying something, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify that you would go on. If you go to the Parliament website and you select bills before the House, you will get a list of the bills. Once you select that bill, there is an opportunity on the bottom of each bill that you can make a comment. So you can select the immigration bill and the citizenship bill.
Yes, and make a comment on it. And we're going to put it on Sunday night and show them what to do. We've got to mobilize. All right, we have to mobilize. They said they want to hear from the people. They will hear from us. They will hear from us. In fact, one of the things that can be done is that we hold our own town hall meetings, Mr. Greenidge, and educate the people in the communities.
Certainly.
you know, let's flood the place with the knowledge of this. Sir, I want to thank you for being on with us tonight. This has just been wonderful.
Thank
And
you for having me.
I did, you know, I just want to thank you. I want to thank Mr. Thorne, thank the DLP TV last night for this, and thank you for the time you've put in, because I know how these things are. It takes a lot of time. So God bless you. Is there any final thing that you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you for having me again. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to your viewers, to speak to the Barbadian people. We are in a time where it's difficult to access the mainstream media.
Yes.
That is unfortunate, and that in itself is a symptom of what is going on in our country. So platforms like yours and the LPTV give us an opportunity to be able to reach as many of our fellow citizens as possible, and therefore I really do thank you for the opportunity to come on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and keep, you know, what, as Jamaica we say, walk good, you know, and continue the work that you're doing, sir. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, great job. Thank you. Wow, guys, that was like, whoo. Do you see why we need an opposition? I'm not trying to say that you tell any party that they go into power to be an opposition, because I'm not running a political party. So, you know, somebody said to me today, you don't try to be an opposition, you try to win. I am talking for myself. Yes, I'm not in charge of the DLP or UPP or any other party. Okay, I am just saying that as a citizen, it is good to have strong opposition in government. And where I stand, I know some of you don't like me to say it, I don't business who wins. All I matters to me is that there's a strong opposition voice, because look at this situation here. Shouldn't this man be in parliament? Now ask yourself. You need people that are going to be in there to be able. We don't have that legal understanding. Come on, folks, it's common sense. You need the people in there that are going to take, as you say, go under the hood and defend you and stand up for you. So now what he's done is that we're now able to take this and run with it. You understand? So folks, I don't want us to be saying how great Mr. GREENIDGE is and how well he presented. That's not what this is all about, and how great the Marcia Weekes Show is. That's not it. We want action now. Action, action, action. Get ready. I start my letter already. I will bring it on here and show you. And those of you have the letter, we can help you to put letters together. I have some people that I can help you to put some letters together and some form letters, and we form a team and get patam, get the letters out. We're gonna put a team together, right? And because we ain't stopping. CG you start getting the placards ready. We're going out to Dave. Did you give me the date? Is that the 18th? Somebody help me. It's 11th. It's not this one. The 11th. Thank you, Dave. The 11th. Saturday is the 11th. Everybody out. If you're a Bajan, you need to hit the road. You need to be on the street. Yeah. Wow. Folks, this is where I end. Lots of work to do. That's all that's going in my head. I see work. So lots of work to do. Help us all. Those in the diaspora, don't leave us. Don't leave us now. We need you all. Okay? I love you all, Barbados. You know, oh my goodness. You know, Justin, Justin, you're right. Yes, Justin. You got it, Justin. So that's why I say to people, we are on schedule. We are on God's schedule. I don't know what the end is going to be, but all I know right in this moment, we are all on his schedule. Yeah, you could hold me to my words, Trevor. I don't know what words you mean that we're going to work at it. What do you mean? That you're going to hold me to my words, that we're going to work at it? Trevor, you can whoever that Trevor is, you can give me a call. Give me a call, Trevor, 236-7000. You might be able to help us to do what it is that we need to do. But as long as we have the resources, we're going to do our best. So just yes. Buy the card, the CG. We will reimburse you, and let's keep going. Okay, I need to end. This has been so good. All right, guys. Dave, you're going to play the. There's something about the nurses that we're going to play to end. Dave, thank you very much.
The Democratic Labour Party strongly condemns the persistent failure of the Mayor Motley administration to protect our nurses and healthcare workers who continue to face threats, violence, and disrespect on the job. For more than a week, the Barbados Nurses Association and Unity Workers Union have been locked in discussions with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, demanding immediate improvements in security and working conditions at polyclinics and other healthcare institutions across the country. These talks have now dragged into a second week, not due to complexity, but because of the ministry's shocking reluctance to act. In a tepid statement issued on Sunday, Acting Permanent Secretary Wayne Webster warned of possible disruption in services due to a planned BNA meeting, while offering vague platitudes about enhanced security. Instead of showing decisive leadership or expressing solidarity with the affected nurses, the ministry chose to hide behind bureaucratic language and downplay the seriousness of repeated violent incidents, including the stabbing of a nurse at the psychiatric hospital and attacks at Randall Phillips and Glebe polyclinics. Let us be clear. A nurse being stabbed on duty is not an isolated act of aggression. It is a direct consequence of a government that refuses to prioritize the safety of its frontline workers. The Democratic Labour Party stands in full solidarity with the nurses. It is unconscionable that, despite mounting attacks, neither of the two ministers of health, Dr. the Most Honourable Jerome Walcott, nor Junior Minister Davison Ishmael, have publicly condemned the violence or assured the country of urgent corrective action. Their silence is an indictment of this government's neglect of those who care for us in our most vulnerable moments. Instead of taking swift steps to meet the reasonable demands of healthcare workers, this government hides behind excuses while boasting about spending tens of millions of dollars, including recruiting nurses from Ghana. Yet, they balk at investing in adequate security to protect the very nurses already here, serving our people under threat of physical harm. One security guard at a polyclinic is not just inadequate, it is a disgrace. This is not a matter of resources. It is a matter of priorities. The same government that found money to throw lavish spending behind Carry Festa, regathering, crop over events, and foreign trips with oversized delegations cannot find the will to invest in the safety of healthcare professionals and the patients they serve. Enough is enough. Barbadians deserve better. Nurses deserve to feel safe at work. The government must stop ignoring the cries of frontline workers and immediately implement robust security measures across the healthcare system. The time for platitudes is over. We urge the Minister of Health and the Motley Cabinet to stop treating healthcare like a second-tier concern. This is not just about nurses. This is about respect, safety, and a government that must finally be held accountable. This is Senator Andrea Worrell, opposition spokesperson for health and wellness and candidate for St. Michael Central.
Running this show, nobody nobody know. Taxes high but two wages low. The PM talk, the rest lie low. In BIM is a one-woman show. Lancelot, crime run wild, still we smiling Caribbean style. Singing words with rhythm and flow, cause soca never sugarcoat. Running the show, nobody know. Taxes high but two wages low. The PM talk, the rest lie low. In BIM is a one-woman show. Lancelot, crime run wild, still we smiling Caribbean style. Singing words with rhythm and flow, cause soca never sugarcoat. The youth them balling in the street, but the police seat still one from heat. Gunshot barking every night, yet not a soul come out of sight. Them say investigation start, 2 years past, not a single chart. CCTV done gone blind, and the brass act like crime can't find. Who running the show, nobody know. Taxes high but two wages low. The PM talk, the rest lie low. In BIM is a one-woman show. Lancelot, crime run wild, still we smiling Caribbean style. Singing words with rhythm and flow, cause soca never sugarcoat. Who running the show? Nobody know. Who calling the blow? We don't know till she tell us so. Gas price climbing out of control. Tax take more than church take soul. Man work a month, sweat and grind. Still can't afford the corned beef tin. Fiat on water, tax palm breeze. Woman begging, love some ease. Politician cruising, new bench shine. Say tight your belt while them drink wine. Running the show, nobody know. Taxes high but two wages low. The PM talk, the rest lie low. In BIM is a one-woman show. Lancelot, crime run wild, still we smiling Caribbean style. Singing words with rhythm and flow, cause soca never sugar low. Who running the show? Nobody know. Who calling the blow? We don't know till she tell us so. Who running the show? Nobody know. Who calling the blow? We don't know till she tell us so. Who running the show? Nobody know. Taxes high but two wages low. The PM talk, the